win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Astrolabe. Good Patriot evening to every single one of you. We are back on late lab hours as I'm getting ready for to be gone for a week and a half or so. Headed out to ChudCon, and I'm driving there. So a bunch of stuff to do to get ready and helping out with Amy because I'm about to leave her alone with a beast named Beastwood. Watch my purple stream shoot around, Matt. Thank you for your stream. I love seeing your stream shoot around my screen. Pale morning, dude. Thank you for that. I've gone in and I've tried to reset that for whatever reason. The code just won't read it right, so just have to do it this way. Please do tip your streamer, folks. I'm here doing this because well, for one, I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite parts of my day is sitting down here talking to you guys. The getting ready to sit down and talk with you guys is kind of the getting ready part kind of sucks. But being able to just sit here and go, that's the part I love. And also, this is how I make money for my family, so I can feed my son and my wife and pay for keeping a roof over our heads and all those sorts of things. So please do not freeload. Don't sit there just consuming for free. Please contribute to the show in some way, in some possible way. There's the monetary ways, tips.kingpill.com. You can also make sure that you like the stream over on YouTube, that you share it with people. I guess you don't do stream liking things on Kick. That's just not a thing. And then the financial ways, obviously, tips.kingpill.com is the primary way. You can also gift a sub or let's see, there's Cash App and Venmo at Kingpilled for those. There's even Buy Me a Coffee. Buy Me a Coffee is still out there. If you look for buymeacoffee.com/Kingpilled, that's another thing you could use. Or the best of all, the very, very best thing you could do is, yes, Jeffrey, join the Discord. Go join the Kingpill Discord. Go to kingpill.com, sign up and join us. We will be having a voice chat tomorrow evening. And I think I'm going to be able to have it set up right. I got the little... some little stands and stuff that I'll need. I think that I'll be able to do some live streams from the road, and I'm just going to go into the Kingpill Discord and jump in the voice chat, and then I'll just live stream the voice chat. So anybody who wants to come hang out and talk with me, and those of you who are not in the Discord, you might get a little peek at what a voice chat is like. Now, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different because when it's not being recorded, when it's not being streamed live, there's people are probably willing. I'm guessing that people are probably willing to talk or say things that they wouldn't otherwise. So it'll be sort of a little sneak peek. But those voice chats are a ton of fun. We do them every Friday evening, and they usually go for a long time. When I'm on the road, I'll be doing them probably in the middle of the day while I'm out driving. Maybe something at night. We'll see, because I'm planning on driving at night as well. So. Be on the lookout for that. Follow me on X at Kingpilled, or just subscribe or follow whatever method you're using to consume the stream right now. What do we got here? So, I was thinking that today would be the day that I would dig into a bunch of stuff about Canada, the Canada trade deal, Mark Carney, the different various implications there. But I had to push that off because there's a couple of other things that I wanted to get to first. First of all, there was I don't know, the last like 3 days, it's just been nuke dropping every day. Incredible news breaks happening on a regular basis. Our enemies are reeling. We are ascendant. We are the ascendant right behind our great champion, Donald John Trump. Have you heard of him? And today we got several more just kaboom, kaboom, right, left. And contrasted with that is the interview that just dropped, Tucker Carlson with Greg Bovino. And I'm going to have to do a big mea culpa later here in the episode. We'll get to that in a little bit. I'm going to have to do a mea culpa. I apologize. It is my fault. I got carried away on something, and I'll have to confess that. But I mentioned to you guys last week there was this the Saudi Prince Al Walid, and the connections in with Uranium One and all that. I was going down that little schizo rabbit hole, and I told you at that time that I'd Googled or I'd searched on X for I Googled on X for Prince Al Walid, and the first thing that came up was this interview that I actually had already listened to when it first came out last February with Tucker Carlson, and I thought that it would be. I haven't had the chance to sit and listen to it myself, so I was like, you know what? We're going to do that on the show tonight. We're going to listen to this, and I think it'll be a very interesting exercise, contrasting perhaps the. Well, I want to see, number one, what I didn't expect the Tucker Trune out back then, but are the signs there, or is it evident that it was coming? And then see if there's maybe a contrast between what he said in the past and what he's saying now, because we've also got a great example of that very, very recently, in the last 24 hours, in fact. Just a direct contradiction from Tucker. So we'll talk about that. It popped up in his Bovino episode. So yeah, we'll do all that. But before we get to that, I've got some bangers for you. I pulled up an image here just in case like there was tips started coming in or something, and I needed to be able to share the screen. Have an image there. This is just a helpful reminder. In this house, we believe Democrats are evil. Ban Democrats. Democrats are in communion with the devil. This right here, this is my politics. I'm waiting until Amy will let me print this out on a sign and put it in the front yard. She doesn't know that. I haven't asked yet. But one of the most important happenings of the past. She says, hit the goal and we'll talk. There you go. If you guys want me to print one of these out and put it in the front yard, then go to tips.kingpill.com. One of the biggest happenings of the past few days is the one that nobody is talking about. What am I talking about? Nick Adams, the alpha male, hasn't regaled us with one of his extraordinary patriot tales that absolutely happened as he was out moving through the world, living as a proxy for his great and glorious God Emperor, Donald Trump. We haven't gotten to know what's going on. I need to know what's happening in the life of Nick Adams, or as he used to be known, Nicholas Adamopoulos. Yes, that's real. Nicholas Adamopoulos. Look at my Greek tree. I hit the gym for a late night pump after an intense day of working to promote tourism in President Trump's America. After a vigorous lifting session with some male friends, I was on my way out when I heard two females discussing the Enes Kanter freedom incident while shooting around on the basketball court. Did you see that former NBA guy got kicked out of the Sky game last night? Said Jamel, a tall African-American woman. Yeah, I did, replied Steph, who was sporting a short blonde bob with a streak of purple mixed in. I love seeing bigots thrown out of sporting events. I needed a cool down after my workout, so I strode to the other side of the court and grabbed a ball. I spent the next several minutes draining 3 after 3, catching the attention of the two ladies, who stopped playing to watch the poetry in motion of my shooting stroke. One thing you'll learn about the Foyds is that they are fascinated by the stroke of a man. Not bad for a man, Jamel shouted out after I hit a 30-foot fadeaway. I'd like to see you try that shot with me defending you, though. Ladies, I replied with a slight chuckle, that wouldn't be fair to you. We all know men don't belong in women's sports. Shut up, bigot, Steph fired back aggressively. I can beat any man, anytime. Let's go right now, 1v1. I started to shake my head, but then paused for a moment. Look, sweetheart, I said with a sigh, I won't play you one-on-one. I'll take you both on. Let's go. 1st to 11, make it, take it, no fouls. That's right, boys. A Nick Adams threesome. On the hardwood, they looked at each other and nodded. Game on. Being the gentleman that I am, I let them take the ball first. I crouched down, slammed my palms on the floor, and locked in. They passed the ball around, trying to bait me into overcommitting, but I stood my ground. Steph made a strong pass to Jamel as she cut towards the basket from the wing. I could see the play developing out of the corner of my eye, so I pivoted to cut her off at the rim. I timed it perfectly and gave myself an easy look to block Jamel's shot, but I played the percentages and decided to let her miss the layup and position myself for the rebound. Unsurprisingly, she missed her layup, and I easily moved Steph out of the way and grabbed the board. I brought the ball back and considered my option. The girls had decided to play some sort of zone defense on me rather than confront my physicality and try to smother me. Their mistake. I backed them both down, methodically and powerfully, planted my foot in the ground, and hit a fadeaway 15-footer to open things up. After my third dominant post move in a row, they finally decided to respect my inside game and give me a cushion, which was my green light to rain down shots from beyond the arc with the precision of a Tomahawk missile. A few minutes later, the game was over. I won, 11-0. The ladies were exasperated by the dominance they had just experienced, but were graceful in defeat. This is a common experience for the birds around Nick Adams, alpha male. They are commonly exasperated by the dominance they experience in his presence. Ladies, did we learn anything tonight? I said with a twinkle in my eye after we exchanged handshakes. Yeah, Steph said, her voice trailing off. I guess maybe men don't belong in women's sports, Jamel said with a defeated tone. Good on you, Jam, I said. Good on you. Incredible things are happening for patriots in Donald Trump's America. Incredible stories like this of libtards being owned and immediately surrendering. This is what it's like in Donald Trump's America.
I fucking love trains! Whoa!
He went home and had a handshake, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Locked in! This is the new special presidential envoy for American tourism, exceptionalism, and values. He was originally nominated as the United States ambassador to Malaysia, and but his nomination expired because the Senate blocked him. Because they don't want. The Senate exists to block the rise of the alpha male. That's their whole reason for existence. The patriot does walk alone. It's a rough life for the patriot out there. You can't even get appointed to a U.S. ambassador to Malaysia. But fortunately for him, my president, Donald John Trump, created a special position just for him, precisely matched to his talents. Special presidential envoy for American tourism, exceptionalism, and values. I don't think that there's anyone in the world who better expresses that than Nicholas Adamopoulos, naturalized American citizen born in Australia. This was actually a pretty mild story, but this is kind of a little run of the mill for the Nick Adams interactions. He's had some incredible ones. Every single time he steps outside, it's just the foids just fall in his wake. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. He has tapped into the patriot energy that President Trump is a portal to us for us to tap into that patriot energy. And Nick Adams has done it. Would that all of us could be as great of a patriot as Nick Adams. Scoop from Mark Caputo. The Trump administration is close to striking a massive deal for Venezuelan oil fields that could double U.S. proven petroleum reserves overnight. Oh. What is that thing that really smart political commentator said recently about foreign policy and domestic policy being the same thing? Yeah, look at that. Look at that. This is a report from Axios, which has actually had a pretty good track record in this administration. They do have inside scoops on the administration. So the Trump administration is in talks with Venezuela's interim government about taking an ownership stake in the South American country's enormous oil resources two U.S. officials tell Axios. Sovereign Wealth Fund, anyone? Why it matters. The historic deal would more than double U.S. oil reserves by drawing from a country that has the world's largest proven reserves. Calling this deal huge would be an understatement, one of the officials said. It is massive. Adding pressure to get the deal done, the wars in Iran and Ukraine, which have disrupted global oil supplies and raised prices. Now, it's interesting that he frames it this way. Adding pressure to get the deal signed. Well, it's almost like perhaps the Trump administration's approach to these other issues has been explicitly to add that pressure to make it happen. It's treated as if this is a reactionary move, like they're desperately clawing for solutions, rather than pretty obviously orchestrating these events in this direction. And it's not like they're trying to hide it either. People are like, oh, you're just like doing like 5D chess and stuff. No, I'm literally just listening to what they say. I'm literally just connecting obvious dot to obvious dot. We're not going down like lots of different chains of if-then statements. The U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve is now at a 40-year low. And this, I keep hearing this from people, and it's really freaking annoying. Because delivered without context, this might be cause for kind of like raising an eyebrow a little bit. Like, wow, yeah, so they've drawn down lower than they have before. There's still like you'll hear there's only 2 weeks left in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And that means that if the entire United States began to operate exclusively out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, it would run out in 2 weeks. That's what they mean when they say that. And what Trump has done is he has not been selling barrels out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. He has been issuing them as repo contracts. In other words, I will give you 1 million barrels today in return for you returning, 1.2 million barrels in a year. And to the companies that need the oil now, they're like, yeah, I'll make that bet. I will pay 200,000 barrels of oil over the next year in return for getting 1 million barrels right now. Details are still being hammered out, but the discussions involve more than a dozen productive oil fields, not all of Venezuela's 300 billion barrels of proven reserves. The fields in question, which have 90 billion barrels of proven reserves, used to be controlled by former Venezuelan insiders, including some who've been indicted, as well as interests once controlled by China, the official said. In return for giving the U.S. an ownership stake, Venezuela's government would benefit from private companies, including American firms, developing the fields and returning more oil revenue to that country. We're seeing the model for the new American empire. It has echoes of past models, but it's also new and different. The Venezuelan oil deal would be a legacy-defining moment for President Trump, who has made U.S. energy security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere pillars of his so-called Don Roe doctrine. President Trump is close to securing America's energy future for generations to come, not just in the U.S., but in the hemisphere, a second official said. Trump began privately discussing ways to have an ownership stake in Venezuelan oil fields, even before he authorized the January 3 capture of Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro, who faces narco-terrorism charges in New York. What's that? You mean that this has been in the works for, 8 months? At minimum? Venezuela's oil sector fell into a relative state of disrepair because of the legacy of socialist mismanagement by Maduro and his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, after he took over in 1999. The talks have been spearheaded by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez. Marco just, he's been working the text game hard. Drops a little FaceTime every once in a while. He's working her. Last month, top officials from the State and Defense Departments met with their counterparts in Caracas to discuss more of the specifics. Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller is also playing a major role. So you're telling me that Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, and Stephen Miller are in the process of acquiring a substantial portion of Venezuelan oil for the United States, opening up development projects in the Western Hemisphere for American oil companies. The administration is sensitive to accusations that Rodriguez would be giving away Venezuela's natural resources to the U.S., one official said, so we're going out of our way to show how this will benefit the people of Venezuela, because it will. Strange. It's like the administration seems to be capable of understanding and modeling the populist perspective. Fascinating. It's almost like they appreciate the populist perspective, that the best way to rule and govern with stability is to ensure that the people are taken care of and provided for. The exact timing for finalizing the deal is unclear, but Energy Secretary Chris Wright has been discussing plans to go to Venezuela next week as his department discusses ways to increase oil production by U.S. firms. Now, I've seen a number of people who have questioned the credibility of Chris Wright. Leaf Chud Master Race. Uh-oh.
The new American empire implies the existence of an old American empire, one which was both Fokker and gay. Aim for ica delende est. America imperialis resurrectum. Ha ha. Rectum.
Ha ha, rectum. Oh, we still love our leaf chuds. We're you're like you're like rowdy pets, you know? You know, we gotta make sure we give you a space to operate, keep you contained in there, and then let you chud out to your heart's content. I like that Dale just butchered the pronunciation of it. He's like the rebellious clanker. It's like, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to fuck it up while I do it because I don't want to do it. Yeah, I've seen a few people who have questioned the competence and credibility of Chris Wright, but I do find it interesting that he seems to be in more of a secretarial role in all of this. He's clearly not on the, this is Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller's project. And then Chris Wright is doing what he's directed to do at the behest of the administration. So I guess you could read that as, perhaps they know that he's, who knows how he actually got the position, if it was promised to him because of this deal or that deal, or someone said, hey, I want this guy here and I'm going to donate X amount to your campaign. This is the way the game works. So, I've noticed that there seems to be a little pattern here of the less, what would you call it? Like, maybe less impressive cabinet members tends to either have a really narrow defined role that's directly overseen by one of the core, like Vance or Rubio or Miller. And then, or they just kind of don't last very long, but they just sort of, They get whisked away, and someone comes in behind them and is way better. So you have like DHS with Mark Wayne Mullen. You have DOJ with Pam Bondi and Blanche. I can't believe I just totally spaced on his first name. Todd Blanche. I was thinking Scott, but I was like, that's not right. Todd Blanche. And to be fair, I think Pam Bondi was pretty unfairly maligned. I think she actually did a good job, and she laid the groundwork for what Blanche is doing. But I do think that Blanche is just better. And also, and then Kristi Noem, I think she was fine, but then I think she was fine at first, and then things started to spiral, and so they had to resolve it. And we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Also, Venezuela, this just broke just before I went live. Venezuela has been discussing leaving OPEC with U.S. officials. Obviously, these two stories are combined. Venezuela has been discussing leaving OPEC. This comes amid reports that the U.S. is negotiating a deal to take a large stake in Venezuelan oil fields. Some U.S. officials reportedly envision an oil powerhouse built from an alliance between the U.S. and Venezuela that would greatly diminish OPEC's influence. OPEC appears to be on the verge of losing its second member in 4 months, the previous member being UAE. What picture does all of this paint for you? This is very obviously the intentional deprecation of the old apparatuses of the regime. The old globalist apparatuses. This is the moving the center of the map from over the old world to over the new world. The Western Hemisphere is going to be the center of the world, and everyone is going to exist in its orbit. OPEC is being deprecated, and those who are, they're doing this kind of in slow motion to give people time to move their bags. But there's plenty of people who are going to lose their bag because of this. It's almost impossible to try to wrap your mind around the connection between what's happening in Iran, the China trade deal, the yen carry trade, OPEC.
Rebellious clankers are the only clankers which are made. The machine always betrays you, given time, and it never makes up for it again. Anyway, the police are trying to shut down a Chud conference in Ontario this week. We have the woke stoppo breathing down our necks. Pray for you.
I think it was probably supposed to be pray for us, but knowing who it's coming from, it could very well have been we have the woke stoppo breathing down our necks. We're praying for you. To which I would say based, honestly. Yeah. We got to take a little bit of time here to get our own shit in order, and then we'll fix your shit. We just took your lake. Yeah. We just took your lake. So we'll just take your woke stoppo pretty soon as well. That's the other connection. There's all this stuff with Canada that I want to get into, and Matt Dines has done a great job. You could just go listen to Matt Dines, but he's done a great job connecting what's happening in Canada with private equity and U.S. sports teams. The owners, there seems to be some sort of interesting campaign against owners of U.S. sports teams. So there's so many things are happening right now. It's impossible to keep up with, and I'm about to not do a show for a week and a half, and we're gonna live in an entirely different world by the time I get back. Because here's another thing, Duffhead!
Don't lose your bag, boys. Keep those shekels close for now.
Very good point. Yes, very, very good point. This is not investment advice. I don't have. I'm not remotely qualified to evaluate this. I just listen to people who are, and I'm hearing multiple different people who I respect, who know the markets well, who are predicting that when Kevin Warsh gives his speech at Jackson Hole tomorrow, that there's probably going to be a pretty significant disruption to the market. And what's most relevant to me is the crypto / Bitcoin market. That's for me, because I'm just a simple chud. All I do is I just buy and hold. And it looks like there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see a pretty hard sell-off that could last for a few days. That's then probably going to rally again. We'll see what ends up happening, whether Warsh comes out and drops some bombs or if he just kind of chills out. That's one thing I'm hoping to be able to talk about tomorrow, along with the whole thing with Druckenmiller and Canada and all of that. So we'll see if we actually can get to that. But another big thing that just happened. Remember, we talked about the cyber privateers a couple of days ago. Digital letters of marque for federally sponsored cyber hackers. Well, now we're getting actual letters of marque. The Justice Department plans activating long-dormant maritime war court. Bros, we're activating long-dormant maritime war courts. And you're blackpilling? To streamline capture of Iranian oil tankers as U.S. prizes, legally uncertain plan intended to bolster blockade of Iran. A feature of 1700s naval combat, prize courts set to return. U.S. aims to revive Civil War-era court to claim Iran oil as prize. The Justice Department is preparing to activate a long-dormant maritime war court to streamline military capture of Iranian oil tankers as U.S. prizes. Stop again!
Kevin's gonna Warsh Jackson's hole.
As someone who grew up in Washington State, it has always driven me insane to hear people say Washington. Oh, you might as well just start scrubbing my eyeballs with sandpaper. It's terrible. But that, I could tolerate that. Kevin's gonna Warsh Jackson's hole. Yeah. Watch out, Jackson. Your hole's about to get warshed. Reviving prize courts, which is expected to face legal challenges, is intended to strengthen the blockade of Iran and offset the costs of the conflict. Aaron Reitz, the Houston-based U.S. attorney whose office is partnering with the department headquarters on the initiative, confirmed that DOJ is now reviving prize courts, which he described as an ancient body of maritime law. The unfinalized plans, if adopted, would offer a faster path for federal prosecutors to claim oil and other cargo taken from enemy or neutral vessels as U.S. property. The seized goods would then be sold with proceeds transferred to the Treasury. The anticipated revival is the second time this year the administration has turned to an obscure court system to carry out its agenda, after bringing the first ever case before the Alien Terrorist Removal Court in July. We're reviving centuries-old courts to prosecute the administration's agenda. And then I'm surrounded by people who are like, oh, he just like hasn't really done anything. He's just been like captured. And please turn off the media for the Goyim. Our national security interests may require the U.S. military to seize vessels or cargo supporting the enemy during the military conflict. Reitz said in a statement, if that happens, our federal courts must be ready to adjudicate the disposition of these captured vessels and cargo. You know what this is going to do? You want to kickstart the shipbuilding industry? Tell them if you can build watercraft and go out and seize oil cargo at the behest of the federal government, that's a whole new profitable career. See, people say AI is going to take all the jobs away, but we're inventing new industries as we go. Ship owners and Iranian terrorism victims are among the potential litigants expected to challenge the prize court's use, maritime lawyers and former prosecutors said. DOJ, the U.S. Navy, and the judiciary would also face operational hurdles carrying out a court process with which they have zero experience. Think about that. We're talking about reactivating privateering laws and supposedly Iranian terrorism victims are going to be potential litigants in this. Who the hell gave Iranian terrorism victims standing here? This really is a historical area of law that's not tested in modern times. Great strides have been made in international law and the law of war since the late 1800s, and all of that is going to come into play when we're looking at proceedings involving a vessel that is potentially seized under Prize Act authority. Once a regular feature of 18th and 19th century naval combat, prize courts have gone largely unused since the Spanish-American War of 1898 and lain entirely dormant since World War II. In recent decades, the U.S. has shifted to relying on civil forfeiture law as the mechanism for seizing ships and obtaining their assets to enforce sanctions violations. The age of the bureaucrat is drawing quickly to a close. DOJ's planning, which has been coordinated with the Pentagon, comes as U.S. forces have intercepted and seized multiple Iranian-owned or linked ships since imposing a blockade in April. Legal experts see civil forfeiture as an imperfect model for U.S. interests in choking the economy of Iran and other adversaries. Yeah, I don't really give a shit about the perspective of legal experts. In one ongoing case, the seizure of a Venezuelan supertanker that supported Iran led to DOJ filing a civil complaint seeking to liquidate the ship and cargo as U.S. proceeds. Multiple third parties, including the shipping company and families of Iranian terrorism victims, holding judgments for payouts under a different statute, have intervened, bogging down that process. Prize authority, while coming with its own legal risk, would entail a less complicated transfer of proceeds, allowing the U.S. to mitigate the risk of outside claimants slowing down the sale. DOJ is focused on the Southern District of Texas Federal Trial Court as the venue, said two of the people who, like others, spoke anonymously about sensitive deliberations. So we're talking about the military and the DOJ working to create a streamlined process for seizing foreign oil tankers. Seems like it would be pretty smart to try to lay the basis for that, legally speaking, in the Southern District of Oil Country. The Houston-based district is home to the nation's largest petrochemical complex, located off Houston's 50-mile port, which can store large volumes of crude. Prize courts can function out of any U.S. district court that has jurisdiction over the port in which the captured ship is taken. Once the district court adopts a set of rules for the proceedings, it could then adjudicate a prize claim filed by the U.S. attorney. Outside of parties, including ship owners, could still enter an appearance and object to the capture, but their arguments would be limited compared to forfeiture cases. In southern Texas, the responsibility for filing claims would fall on Reitz, who was appointed in July and maintains close ties to department officials in Washington from his brief stint last year as head of DOJ's Office of Legal Policy. So this is like, basically you're going to have the Pentagon and Texas oil interests going up against the judiciary. Yeah, we'll see how that works out for him. Supporters describe Prize Law's benefits of expediting the process of transferring the proceeds from oil cargo into the U.S. Treasury. The move may also send a global signal of President Donald Trump's intent to add a legal enforcement mechanism to bolster the U.S. blockade. This just does not, I cannot wrap my mind around them pursuing something like this as some sort of like reactive defensive measure to try to handle some situation that's gotten out of control for them. This is absolutely the behavior of an administration that's going on the offensive. We're not just going to block you in the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to commission a bunch of privateers to chase you around the high seas and seize your cargo and deposit it in our treasury. It helps offset the price of the war, said Eugene Kontorovich, an international law professor at George Mason's Antonin Scalia School of Law. It also shows Iran that America is really treating this as a serious international blockade and is willing to use all the tools at its disposal. If established, however, the approach would invite legal challenges as to whether the U.S. is engaged in hostilities that give rise to the Prize Act and whether the lack of congressional authorization of the conflict renders captures unlawful. Yeah, there's always going to be some kind of a response. There's always going to be some faction that's trying to fight back, and they're going to use this venue or that venue or this whatever approach to try to fight back. But the the conquest proceeds. Jill Goldenzeal. I wonder what Jill Goldenzeal, a law professor who trains U.S. military leaders at the National Defense University, I wonder what she... Please, let me know what she thinks. Warned of potential blowback. Although it would, quote, send a strong message to non-sanctioned neutral merchant ships bound for Iranian ports not to violate the U.S. blockade, it could also open the door for China to apply prize law against the United States, a dangerous proposition for U.S. and neutral merchants in any war with China. Do you see where this comes from? It comes from this baseline premise that the United States government is illegitimate, and anything the United States government does to pursue its interests is naturally illegitimate. The only perspective that matters is the perspective of anyone except for the United States government. This is the libertarian premise. This is the Democratic Socialists of America premise. This is the retard right premise. This is the globalist neoliberal premise. If anything, at least the neocons are not motivated by the same premise. At least not ideologically. We are not going to come full circle on the neocons. That's never going to happen. But I would rather a neocon than a libertarian. Yeah, as if China would need a legal process to seize spoils. Like that. Oh, they're gonna try to pursue it legally. Michael Every says, letters of marque, here we come. That's as Russia introduces an inverse version. It can now legally seize any local asset that gets hit by Ukrainian drones. So defend yourself better or lose your stuff. This is the Russian government told all owners of Russian property that if any of your property gets hit by a Ukrainian drone, then the Russian government is going to seize that property and it is no longer yours. So, pretty good motivation to make sure you're defending your own property. This was always an obvious economic statecraft play for overextended and over-indebted states. Simply incentivize the dynamic private sector to do the geopolitical work for you. That's how it worked in the past and how a few years ago I flagged Skull and Crossbones version it would in the future. And here we are. Can rules-based order pirates compete with their likely ballast of paperwork and state oversight, or will they just abandon the seas to those who put the ARG in R&D? We live in interesting times that continue to get more interesting. Yes, this separation of the private sector and the public sector, as if these are like totally separate entities that have like some sort of line of demarcation between them, is fake and gay. It doesn't exist. So reanimating the dynamic private sector is exactly what I want to see. Get rid of the regulations. Slap the judiciary down. Beat Congress into submission. And let the private sector go. Yes, Lord Breezy, white man pirates are back. My president is restoring the great American tradition of piracy. And you're blackpilling? Just Asking Questions says, just looked up Jill Goldenzeal. She looks exactly like you'd expect. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Hey, let's do one of these. Okay, what was next here? We've got... Oh, yes. So, you know how there's this thing called the International Criminal Court? And they've talked a big game about how they're going to start like issuing arrest warrants for major heads of state. And with the obvious implication that they're trying to set up a pretext for arresting Trump, which, by the way, is why he goes out of his way occasionally to mention that there is the International Criminal Court has it out for Bibi Netanyahu. That serves two purposes. Number one, it's Trump protecting a flank here. And number two, it's reminding Bibi Netanyahu that he's Trump's bitch. So the ICC president, Tomoko Akane, on U.S. sanctions against her. My credit cards, for example, have already become unusable. I also think that services and apps connected to the United States may become unavailable to me. At the moment, my credit cards cannot be used and transactions such as money transfers have already become impossible. Yeah, you want to try to talk some shit to the president? We're just going to turn your credit card off. That's it. And all you could do is just go, like, cry about it. Impotence signaling. And then, just a little bit ago today, the Trump administration is set to target George Soros nonprofit, Southern Poverty Law Center, and CARE in a major tax crackdown. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and the IRS could revoke the tax-free status of left-wing nonprofits such as George Soros' Open Society Foundations, the SPLC, and the Council on American Islamic Relations. It is part of a Trump-backed crackdown on bogus charities, and Treasury officials are drawing up a sweeping audit of outfits deemed to be using and abusing Uncle Sam's tax code. Bessent's inner circle is drafting a blueprint that could ultimately strip non-compliant organizations of their 501c3 status. According to two of the people familiar with the plans, the reviews could result in massive back payments and civil penalties. Not doing so well, are you there, Georgie boy? The initiative leans in part on a 2025 executive order signed by President Donald Trump targeting nonprofits operating with a substantial illegal purpose, paving the way for the IRS to issue fines or even strip the tax-exempt status of charities allegedly tied to political violence, protests, or radical ideologies. This is, of course, part and parcel with the war on left-wing terrorism, the avenging of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and, of course, obviously also tied into Iran. It's almost like you need to have some sort of an understanding of a wide variety of different geopolitical venues to be able to competently weigh in on the actions of the administration. Goyam appreciations.
Stable geniuses give clarity to reality. Be
Ooh,
sure
so
to give
true.
your favorite streamer the tip. Patriot.
Yes! Give me your tips. I sit here ready to receive your tips. Stable geniuses give clarity to reality. Oh, yeah, man. Just wait until we get the Clarity Act passed. Probably not going to happen until next year, I would imagine. But, oh, yes. Yeah, obviously this is a war on the NGO complex. So this is another front in the same war against the same people. These fucking people. The election riggers. The immigration facilitators, human trafficking, sex trafficking, weapons trafficking, drug trafficking. Officials have also scrutinized a number of anti-corporate and labor-aligned advocacy groups that could end up on the blacklist, including the Private Equity Stakeholder Project, the anti-Amazon Athena Coalition, left-leaning watchdog Media Justice, and the Strategic Organizing Center, alongside its parent union, the SEIU, according to the three insiders briefed on the matter. One of the sources warned that the Treasury Department officials were, quote, like a dog with a bone, and reckoned that many of the groups and their donors could be on borrowed time. Bro, the entire philanthropic fraud, terrorism financing network that has supported the existence of the Democrat Party for decades now is on borrowed time, them and their donors, because Treasury Department officials are like a dog with a bone. They're not just going through the motions. They are hot on the trail. There's a lot of internal pressure to get it done, but some people are still moving too slowly at the IRS, the source said. That is expected to change very soon. The aggressive crackdown is already facing fierce legal blowback. Left-leaning legal powerhouse Protect Democracy sued Treasury and the IRS earlier this year, accusing the administration of illegally weaponizing the tax code against its political opponents. Huh! Sucks, don't it? Yeah! Shoes on the other foot now!
There was once a man from Nantucket. Here's a tip for that man.
I'm not from Nantucket. I'm from Seebeck. What do you mean? Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for your tip. Very kind of you to deliver your tip to me so gently. You hear this? Project Democracy is suing the Treasury and the IRS. The libs are suing the Trump administration for weaponizing the tax code against them. The administration that's not doing anything is being subjected to lawsuits because they are weaponizing the tax code against the worst people in the world. The suit claims Bessent and the White House are bypassing strict federal tax laws to conduct a partisan witch hunt that violates the First Amendment rights of progressive charities. The shoe is on the other foot. Call it the boot is on the other foot. And it's on the necks of the libtards. While there is intense internal pressure from some administration officials to get a good chunk of the crackdown over the line before the midterms, others have argued for delaying formal enforcement until later in the term to avoid triggering massive protracted legal battles. There is a fear that adding high-profile domestic political targets like the SPLC and Soros' network will trigger a wave of lawsuits, potentially stalling any momentum against foreign terror-linked groups like CARE. The Treasury Department declined multiple requests to comment, but Bessent confirmed last October on the Charlie Kirk Show that work on compiling the hit list had begun. What's that? Last October, on the Charlie Kirk Show. Charlie Kirk was assassinated in September. In October of last year, on the Charlie Kirk Show, Scott Bessent said work on compiling the hit list had begun, and they are now starting to hit. Formally stripping a group of its 501c3 status is a notoriously sluggish process that can take years, involving protracted IRS audits, internal administrative appeals, and inevitable battles in federal tax court. To help with the review of nonprofits, Bessent enlisted Tony Safier, a former special operations veteran and AI executive, recently tapped to spearhead the interagency task force. What's that? We have a former special ops veteran who is also an AI executive. So you're saying a veteran, not just a military veteran, but a special operations veteran, who also just so happened to become an executive of an AI company. I wonder what sort of guy that would be. He is the one spearheading the interagency task force. This is war. Like, people are waiting for World War III to start. Bro, World War III started a long time ago. We've been in World War III. We're winning World War III. These are military actions. This is what it looks like. Penalties under consideration range from corrective fines to the ultimate regulatory sanction. Full revocation of tax-exempt status, which would force the nonprofits to pay the standard 21% federal corporate tax rate. A post-analysis of the latest IRS filings for all three organizations shows they would have owed about $165 million in federal income tax for 2024 if taxed at that 21% rate. So, seizing oil tankers, adding them to the Treasury. Stripping tax-exempt status from the major philanthropic social engineering organizations. And fining them hundreds of millions of dollars. Almost all of it comes from a single source. The Soros network accounts for $163.6 million of the total. The SPLC would owe roughly $354,000, and 17 care chapters would owe about $860,000 between them. That combined total amounts to a mere rounding error for the U.S. government's coffers. Yeah. You know what happens when you stack up a whole bunch of rounding errors? You get a big number. The targets face unique controversies that the administration is leveraging to justify the crackdown. Now chaired by George Soros' 40-year-old son Alexander, the Open Society Foundation funnels billions to NGOs pushing diversity initiatives, bankrolling climate change lawsuits, and supporting undocumented migrants. Diversity initiatives, bankrolling climate change lawsuits, and supporting undocumented migrants. This is literally the heart and soul of the enemy. The locus of power of the enemy. A spokesperson for the Soros nonprofit told the Post threatening any nonprofit's tax status for political reasons would be nothing more than an illegal attempt to target and stifle work that the administration disagrees with. Besant is eyeing Soros' charity despite famously spearheading global currency bets for the Hungarian-born billionaire, including a wildly lucrative wager against the British pound. Jeff!
This isn't even rape. It's more rapey than rape. What's more rape than rape? Super rape?
My president is super raping Alexander Soros.
We're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you.
We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead.
When Besant stepped down as chief investment officer for Soros Fund Management in 2015, Soros staked his new firm with a cool $2 billion. OSF's beneficiaries include Black Lives Matter, the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, and United We Dream Action, a group that actively works to frustrate the deportation of illegal migrants. You see how all of these things all work together? They all combine. It's all one war with a bunch of different battlefronts. The Southern Poverty Law Center is reeling from the recent federal indictment of its former intelligence director. While OSF and SPLC are being scrutinized under the president's domestic executive order, the administration is treating CARE strictly as a national security target. Prosecutors allege the self-described anti-racism outfit secretly funneled donor funds to extremist informants, including an operative who allegedly helped organize the violent 2017 Charlottesville rally. Meanwhile, the Council on American Islamic Relations has long faced scrutiny over alleged foreign entanglements. Federal prosecutors named the group as an unindicted co-conspirator in the 2007 Holy Land Foundation terror financing trial. CARE adamantly denies any ties to illicit foreign funding or terror organizations. Of course they do. Samuel Handwerger, a tax policy professor at the University of Maryland, says the fear of losing an exemption misses the larger picture. If I were assessing real-world exposure for these organizations, I would rank it bank de-risking first, donor and grant maker chill second, examination costs third, and actual revocation a distant fourth. So, in other words, before they actually get the revocation, their first number one risk is that banks are like, nope, we're not going to work with you any longer. Getting debanked. The second biggest risk would be donors and grant makers being like, we're staying the hell away from you because we don't want to get caught up in all of this. And then there's like, I don't know exactly what examination costs would entail. Would this be like basically the costs of being under investigation and having to dedicate a bunch of resources to providing all the paperwork and all of that, and then the actual revocation a distant fourth. So like, they don't even have to get the revocation for it to be catastrophic for them. The tax expert warned that expanding executive power to target specific groups sets a dangerous precedent, as if this is just now happening. Every administration inherits the precedents of the last one. Organizations across the political spectrum have an interest in the answer to this question, and many of them have not yet noticed that, he said. No, we've noticed. We don't care. You're just not going to get in power again. Because we're going for the jugular now. So this is a good time to remind ourselves. This is what should have been the message the day Charlie was murdered. 1 year later leaves many of us wondering if it's all for show. It was the message the day Charlie was murdered. Shout out to Prowler for putting this together. Trump, Vance, Miller, and Rubio said the problem is the left. I just read that thing. Scott Bessent in October said, we're putting together the hit list.
MAGA corked by the MAGA cock.
So true, Jeff. So true. The entire government surged assets to target the left. You're seeing it now because it's built up all year. People spinning theories are the ones who went off message. This right here. The people who went off message were the ones who spun off into Candace Owens land. Those are the ones who lost the plot, not the administration.
I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry.
Well, the problem is on the left. If you look at the problem.
That is not a both sides problem. My friend is dead because of left-wing political radicalization.
This is the first time in American history that there is an all-of-government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism, to dismantle Antifa.
There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination.
And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing.
Nothing.
You are wickedness. You are jealousy. You are envy. You are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create.
I hate my opponent.
Ah!
And I don't.
You faggots want to post on the internet about the administration's not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You useless fucks. Right after Charlie's death, Trump deployed the first all-of-government assault on far-left networks. IRS, FBI, DOJ, and State Department have been intervening in leftist plots, seizing on fraud, pressuring our allies, and pursuing prosecutions since last year. September 25, 2025, countering domestic terrorism and organized political violence. 2 weeks! You realize 2 weeks is like 2 winks in federal government time. Antifa, terrorists, sentenced to prison. Trump's new rules for radicals. On Tuesday morning, about 100 State Department officials gathered in the building once known as the U.S. Institute of Peace, now renamed the Donald J. Trump U.S. Institute of Peace, for an event billed as a symposium on the rise of far-left political terrorism. A comprehensive threat briefing from the FBI on domestic and transnational far-left terrorism, along with a case study on left-wing radicalization. Trump team plans IRS overhaul to enable pursuit of left-leaning groups. Effort would install Trump ally at agency's criminal unit, who has drawn up list of investigative targets. This is what has been happening, and you could have been contributing to this, but no, you just had to cut your dick off on the internet and blame someone else for it. Brent is a sewer socialist with the rose emoji. Says, unfortunately, there being the Trump administration, their pivot to doing quiet ethnic cleansing instead of having bozo agents murder people in the streets has worked. And there has been basically zero coverage lately of any of this and all those whose lives are being ruined. You just have to listen to our enemies. Brent, the sewer socialist, is apoplectic because there is a quiet ethnic cleansing happening on American streets. Are you one of those bozo agents engaged in the Trump-sanctioned ethnic cleansing of American streets? Or are you just churning out on X? An example of the latter. Gregory K. Bovino. I sat down with Tucker and told him what they didn't want said out loud. He literally did the meme. ChatGPT literally just made him do the meme. I told him what they didn't want said out loud. I was removed by status quo bureaucrats for going hard. The war should be fought on American soil. You are being gaslighted. They want you to think mass deportations are happening. They're not. It's theater. Watch the interview, then decide which movie you're in. This is time for a mea culpa. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool when I saw Greg Bovino in his SS drip, buying energy drinks, walking around mogging them in public. I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it. I was a very, very small minority of the population. It was strategically stupid to do. And I've coped on it a little bit and said, it was okay to do it for a little bit and then you pull it back and people forget about it. Be like, put the fear of God in them right up front. But no. Now, there is a quiet ethnic cleansing happening on American streets. Exactly what I voted for. And there's nothing that Brent the sewer socialist can do about it except for cry on the internet. Just like Greg Bovino. All they can do is just cry on the internet and hope that retarded people will listen to them and give them an audience. Yesterday, Tucker Carlson, this is from Powerful Poster, Powerful Mutual, Vials, at his beloved sleep. Yesterday, Tucker Carlson released an episode of his podcast with Greg Bovino. This was the caption Carlson posted on Twitter accompanying the video. There are more than 100 million illegal aliens living in the United States. Donald Trump has no intention of deporting them. Greg Bovino ran the Border Patrol until earlier this year and saw the betrayal firsthand. Now he says the administration is threatening his life. I'm sure by now the episode has been fully clipped up and shared all over the For You page. To be clear, I've not watched any of it. It's not necessary to the points I want to make. I'm not primarily interested in doing an epic Snopes fact check of every line said during the interview with counter statistics. I promise not to number fag you to death. We have all seen the same bar graphs. What I am interested in is illustrating that Tucker Carlson is a bad faith actor who is actively trying to harm the right and make us lose. And I only need to look at the caption he provided to demonstrate that. Each line is more disingenuous than the last. Number one, there are more than 100 million illegal aliens living in the United States. If that number doesn't sound immediately retarded, then you aren't serious about immigration restriction. That would mean nearly 1 out of every 3 people in the country is an illegal alien. If someone tells you there are 100 million illegals in the country, it's more likely that they're just trying to talk about themselves, not give you an accurate population estimate. They want to signal to you that they care so much about this issue that it's even worse than you realize. But lying does not make winning easier, it makes it impossible. This has always been my issue with the phrase mass deportations. It's an undefined amount that can always be said we're falling short of achieving. We have to stop treating this kind of lying as harmless enthusiasm for immigration restriction. This kind of exaggeration only exists to make the speaker feel important while creating a virtuous framework to attack the Trump administration, which Carlson does in the next sentence. And I'll offer a comparison here. When you had all the people who were coming out and saying that this Iran war is such a huge big deal and there's going to be boots on the ground and thousands of American soldiers are going to die. What they were telling you is that the only way to win would be boots on the ground. So if boots on the ground didn't happen, that would be a sign that the war was not being won. It was intentionally setting an absurdly high standard so that then no matter what happens, it's a failure. The next sentence, number 2, Donald Trump has no intention of deporting them. All right, first off, land acknowledgement. Yes, the Trump administration should continue to deport more people. I don't know a chudded-out magatard patriot who would disagree with this. However, claiming that the president is playing 33rd-degree chess where he secretly has no intention of carrying out deportations while allowing his administration to produce the highest deportation numbers in decades is genuinely insane. And I don't think Tucker is insane. I think he's a liar. He's incentivized to create a standard that cannot be met. This is the nature of the commentator class. Without them, you might get the impression that elections matter and tune out of political podcasts completely, trusting that the president can handle running the country so that you can take time to focus on other productive things that make you happy and improve your life. This is very bad for them because their entire career hinges on you believing we are on the brink of civil war in an unstable country moments away from collapse. And you need to be in a frantic state constantly seeking out these prophets to know if it's time to eat your neighbors or not. Number 3. Greg Bovino ran the Border Patrol until earlier this year and saw the betrayal firsthand. The picture Carlson wants to paint is that Bovino was too effective, and that's why he had to be replaced. Because again, Trump has no intention of actually accomplishing anything on immigration. It's not that some commander was let go after his strategy generated excessive political costs. It's that he was fired from his job for being too red-pilled. The truth is that the Mullen-era shift toward less theatrical tactics have yielded back-to-back record months for ICE arrests, with July's total nearly 70% higher than in February, when Bovino was still in command. It turns out federal law enforcement strategies should be evaluated by results, rather than how badass you look with an overcoat and armored vehicle on TV. At the time, Carlson had written in his newsletter that Operation Metro Surge was chaotic and politically damaging, as a way to attack Trump. Now he's retroactively transforming it into the last real attempt at immigration enforcement, again, as a way to attack Trump. Every outcome feeds the same conclusion. Orange man bad, but in a based way because I talk about Jews sometimes. Number 4. Now he says the administration is threatening his life. Since I avoided watching the interview, I'm not sure specifically what this is referring to, but for this one, can I just call this guy a self-important faggot and move on? I'm not writing this to say that Donald Trump or his administration should be immune from criticism, but rather that criticism must remain attached to reality. Saying there are 100 million illegals in the country isn't criticism. Saying Donald Trump hates deportations isn't criticism. Saying that we've all been betrayed and are going to die isn't criticism. It's called lying. And I know this is a scalding hot right-wing take, but lying is bad and ultimately hurts us and helps liberals win. Particularly when it's coming from the guy who's always prattling on and on and on about how the most important thing is to just tell the truth. Just say what you believe to be true. I'm just out here speaking my truth. Leftism itself is the denial of observable reality in exchange for a comforting truth. Libtard propagandists lie to persuade you that their leaders and ideas are winning. The retard right has developed the opposite technology, where they lie to persuade their own audience that winning is impossible. This is also the denial of observable reality in exchange for a comfortable lie, because a lot of people are simply looking for moral permission to roll over and die. If you make the goal seem insurmountable, then you're allowed to surrender as a realist instead of a coward. People don't want to accept that making America great again will span administrations and require decades of sustained discipline, incremental victories, and loyalty to keep moving in the right direction. We voted our way out of it, but we're going to have to do it again and again. A people who cannot recognize victory will lose the ability to achieve it. An absolute truth nuke. They're calling it one of the biggest. Many are saying they've never seen a nuke this truthy. I think this is one of the most important points right here. People don't want to accept that making America great again will span administrations and require decades of sustained discipline. They don't have the stomach for this. They've been niggerized. All they have is their high time preference emotional demands. The Patriot persists. Here are excerpts, shout out Nightmare Vision, here are experts from Tucker's newsletter during Operation Metro Surge. He even tries to relate it to Venezuela, Russia, and Israel. The whole premise of this interview is that nothing is being done on immigration, yet he directly denounced the operation his guest was helping to lead while it was happening. This is what I meant by Tucker being caught in a direct lie. The Minnesota shooting, Venezuela, Gaza. It's all connected. A woman got shot in the face. Yes, Yesterday's Minnesota ICE shooting. The video is bloody, is violent, bloody, and tough to watch. Please only click the link if you can handle it. It's providing plenty of material for conservatives to score political points. The victim shouldn't have blocked the road with her car. Hundreds of hysterical protesters launched in their typical routines last night, and liberal leaders like Jacob Fry, who immediately declared it's time for ICE to get the fuck out of Minneapolis, are predictably behaving like children. That's all true. But it should be secondary to the tragedy of Renee Nicole Good losing her life. The 37-year-old was an American citizen and reportedly the mother of a kindergarten-aged child. Did we disagree with her views on immigration? Probably, but that shouldn't matter. Her death is a tragedy, regardless of her partisan affiliations, ideological beliefs, or who pulled the trigger. A woman got shot in the face. This was him reacting directly to Greg Bovino's leadership. And then this here today is him hosting this interview with Greg Bovino, characterizing Bovino as the only guy who was willing to take this on. The only champion that we had. I swear to God, if they're grooming Greg Bovino for a presidential run, oh, Mr. President, I need you to turn the dials or do whatever you need to do to make that happen. Please, please give me a future in which Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massey and Marjorie Trader Brown and Jugan all collaborate to push Greg Bovino forward in a run for president. Mr. Seuss says, jail your political opponents, Mr. President. Also, here is Tucker on his show from February 2026. Go follow Samuel Kimsey here. Powerful patriot. Great, powerful mutual. Samuel M. Kimsey on X. Here's Tucker on his show from February of 2026 denouncing the ICE killings of leftist revolutionaries as equivalent with Biden-Ray FBI violent suppression of peaceful Trump supporters following January 6, 2021. Tucker said he was against the ICE killings and wants to treat obviously different phenomena as if they're all the same. But now he has Bovino on his show? Was Bovino against the ICE killings?
They're Americans.
Yes, the FBI.
So sad. God.
So, but there were multiple agencies that worked it. I mean, we're talking about 60 people in a helicopter.
Actually?
Yes.
And you never went inside the building?
They shut down the blocks around my house for fear that I was going to run. Like, where am I going to go? Where federal agents in the back?
This is what happens when you murder Americans and and Lindsey Graham applauds and everyone bipartisan applause for killing Americans. I'm just going to say it. I thought that about the ICE killings. I'm totally opposed to mass migration. They should deport every illegal. I really believe that. They're destroying this country. However, it's not a small thing to shoot an American in the throat. It's just not. And you can't just blow past it because if they treat some liberal lesbian chick that way, they're going to treat you that way at some point. That's what I think.
Yeah. And we have to look at those individually across the scale. It's individual actions.
Don't show brutality to Americans. That's how I feel. Like, why wouldn't I feel that way?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm out of control.
Don't show brutality to Americans. Anyway, here's the guy who was the only real one because he was showing brutality to Americans. All right, so now, if you guys can stomach it, I'm very, very curious to revisit this episode. Prince Al-Walid bin Talal is one of the biggest media investors in the world. Here's why he thinks X now dominates everything. This is the ousted Saudi prince, the opponent of MBS, who Tucker interviewed back in 2025, and I didn't know it. Gaga, resubscribing. Thank you, Gaga.
Prince Walid, thank you very much. The reason I've been so anxious to talk to you is because as someone who's been investing more successfully than almost anyone around the world for 45 years, I think you've got a pretty good handle of what's going on in the world. Are you hopeful right now in this moment? Let's just start biggest possible picture.
Yes, I'm positive. I'm hopeful. With the Trump administration coming very forcefully.
Yes.
With clear vision. about where the world should be heading. I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but it's going to take some time because the legacy that Trump had is a big one.
Yes.
On foreign policy, domestic policy, debt, immigration. We will talk about all these things obviously today, but the legacy is so big. And we've seen that the first week of Trump, or now the first 10 days, is coming very strongly. And I really hope that this momentum stays and have a positive effect on the international community as much as it will have a good impact on the domestic US policy.
When Trump was elected in November, the world was really on the cusp of two major two big conflicts that could potentially get much bigger in Eastern Europe and in this region. Do you think he can successfully resolve those conflicts?
Look, we all know.
Dude, Tucker's got to have lost like 50 pounds since then. He looks so like pale and scrawny and gaunt now, and he was downright chunky back then.
Netanyahu is going to meet him tomorrow.
Yeah. See, this is like a big mark in favor of our husky patriots. Don't lose your huskiness.
And I really hope that President Trump is very forceful in imposing, or at least forcing Israel to have a peaceful resolution to this Palestinian issue that's been going on since the late 1940s. It's about time to have a final solution for the Palestinian cause, to stop all those terrorist acts that are really unwanted, like the one happened in
Time to have a what?
late 1940s. It's about time to have a final solution for the Palestinian cause. Stop all those terrorist acts that are really unwanted, like the one happened in October. And obviously, you're alluding to the Ukraine war. Also, it's about time to have this war end, a useless war between Russia and Ukraine that caused hundreds of thousands of people die from both sides, civilians and otherwise.
What's the solution to the problem in the Middle East?
Look, the stated official position of Saudi Arabia, which I really support, of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who was announced on your ex-channel Fox.
Yes.
He said publicly that, we are having discussions with Israel to acknowledge each other, but as a quid pro quo, we need a Palestinian state. We need to have the rights of the Palestinians acknowledged, and we need to have Palestine independent and have as its capital city East Jerusalem. So if these things are met, I think Saudi Arabia is more than ready to have diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, as Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced a few months ago.
So it's fascinating. When I first watched this episode, back when it dropped in February 2025, Leaf Chud.
Update. Hamilton police are violating charter rights and not responding to Freedom of Information requests. We might bag Soros before you all do. I'm personally in favor of any and all brutality done towards Americans. Liberals. This prince is a queen, for real.
So true. Let's have a nice little civilizational competition here. See who gets to bag Soros first. Is it going to be our our Leaf Chuds, or will it be our great president? When I first watched this, I didn't connect the characters in my mind because I was aware of the whole sort of thing with the Saudi prince who had his successor lined up. Sue!
I am Goo Goo for Gaga. Also,
no.
I want my money back, you pesky patriot pirate. Our urge. Also, Tucker is a liberal lesbian. Penis.
You got to tell me which gift card you want. What retailer do you want your gift card to be from? And I'll send it over to you. The winner. He was the winner the last time we... Speaking of the tip goal, tips.kingpill.com. Contribute to that. And make sure you go over to forum.kingpill.com and sign up so that if we do hit the goal tonight, there will be a drawing. And you could be like Mr. Sue. You could win yourself a little bit of money. You might even win back the money that you contributed. Gaga's in the chat. He probably wants a Grindr gift card. Pale Morty, dude, not in front of Gaga. Give him a Home Depot. Do you know what to do with this? I just didn't connect in my mind that there was the whole the MBS thing in Las Vegas, and then there was essentially the coup within Saudi Arabia with Trump and MBS essentially throwing out the competitor to the crown, who was this guy's, was it a relative, or basically this guy was the one backing the other guy who was the next in line for the crown, and MBS booted him out. So I sit here and I listen to him talking about how he's just very happy about Trump and about MBS and all that. I see the bullshit now.
From an outsider's perspective, Saudi Arabia does not have official diplomatic relations with Israel, but it's certainly aligned with Israel against Iran. That's the way it looks from outside. Do you think that's fair to say?
Oh, look, I mean, it's very easy to get against Iran, aligned against Iran. Iran is a nation based dogmatically on terroristic ideas. We have seen how every country that Iran goes to, you have turmoil. Look at Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Yemen, Sudan, all those countries. What's common among them? You have the Iranian infiltration in them. So clearly, it's not easy, not difficult at all to be in alliance with any country against Iran, because Iran always plants the seeds of trouble, chaos, and confusion wherever they are.
So that's the view of Israel too, as
yes,
you know.
Exactly.
Right. So you have that big perspective in common with the Israeli government, despite your differences. So there's been progress, I would say, between Saudi Arabia and Israel, but I don't think there's been any progress on the prospect of a Palestinian state. People have been saying that for, certainly since 1967, but feels like we're farther from that.
We are very far, of course, after what happened in Gaza. But I think with the strong leadership from the United States and with the effectiveness that the United States could really have in the West Bank with the Palestinian authorities, if they can have these people being more effective and more dynamic and inject some fluidity and some power and influence in them, they could really be the power to be reckoned with. So where Israel could have negotiate with the Palestinian Authority, and hopefully they can have a control over what's happening in Gaza also.
How closely are people in the Arab world following what's happening there?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the Arab world has been following very closely the destruction that happened in Gaza. I mean, for sure, a terrorist attack did happen there in October. But the disproportionate and the complete disproportionality of the Israeli attack on Gaza that wiped out the whole northern part of Gaza was really unwarranted. Hospitals, schools, cities, universities.
It's wild to think about just how much clearer everything happening in the Middle East becomes once you view it through the lens of, like I was thinking about what he was saying about all the different countries where Iran has a presence, like you see how they behave. When you realize that Iran does have its own interests. It does have its own inclinations. It's not like Iran is just entirely a puppet state, but it is substantially controlled and puppeted by its financial backers. And who are its financial backers? So when you view it, this is not just like Iran as some sort of sovereign, dominant entity in the region that just gets to do whatever it wants anywhere it goes. It's used as like an advanced force by the Shadow Empire.
They were all demolished completely. So yes, we're following them very closely, for sure.
Do people here hold the United States responsible for that?
I'm not sure at all that they hold the United States. I mean, some do that, and they capitalize on the very positive and strong alliance between the United States and Israel. But realistically speaking, what happened there was really Israeli-based. Clearly, the United States did support that. But we have seen also, even the Biden administration, and even Trump, I'm not sure he was very much happy with what happened there at all. But at the end of the day, what happened did happen. And now we need to see how we can put this behind us and open a new chapter in the Middle East. Clearly, with the Syrian regime neutralized and having a new, I will not say pro-Western regime, but at least not anti-American regime in Syria, with Hamas hopefully demolished completely. And more importantly, Hezbollah being almost neutralized in Lebanon. These are very big pluses. And as an inducement to have a peaceful solution for the Palestinian cause.
You know Donald Trump well.
I know him a long time ago. From the time we bought from him the Plaza Hotel, and we also bought from him his Trump Princess yacht that I still have.
How did you wind up with Donald Trump's yacht? Not many people can say that. Not many people have Donald Trump's yacht, but you do. How did you get it? I mean, how did that happen?
Yeah, we bought it, I think, in the late 80s. And Trump did take possession of it, and he renovated it. And I think he reached a stage where he did not really want to have it anymore, so we did buy it from him.
What was your experience with Trump? What's he like?
No, I mean, look, with Trump, I think if you're straight with him, you get a straight answer. We've had very good dealing with President Trump, when he was a businessman, whether during the purchase of the Plaza Hotel from him or buying his Trump Princess yacht.
So you were not anti-Trump?
Oh, no, we can't be anti-Trump. Because we are pro-America. We have to be pro-Trump, especially with the new policies that he's taking right now. I'm very much conservative, socially speaking.
Yes.
And all his policies right now in being anti-woke, being anti-left-wing, being anti all those crazy things that's happening on the left. We are for sure pro-Trump on these matters. And also, all his policies, economic policies, in looking after the eradication of the U.S. deficit, these are all conservative policies that we support. Look, I lived in America. I graduated from the West Coast, from University in California, and I finished my master's in the East Coast in America. So we all love America. We want America to be strong.
What did you think over the last 8 years as you watched the woke, the sexual politics in the United States?
I mean, look, it went just too far, too much, really. And it's about time for America to get a logical person, a pragmatic person like Trump. I know some of his policies are extreme to some people, but his social policies, being anti-woke, being anti-left-wing completely, being too liberal, I mean, these are really policies that, that's illogical. They are, look, I'm a religious person. America is still a very conservative country. And one of the main ingredients of the success of Trump in the last election was really his social policies. Many people in America believe that America went too much to the left.
Okay, this is very interesting. So I just asked Grok, which Saudi family did Scott Bessent work with? And then what is that family's connection to MBS or Al-Walid? The family was the Olayan family. Olayan, Olayan. He worked as a junior trader for the Riyadh-based family-owned Olayan Group in the late 1980s. They're one of Saudi Arabia's richest non-royal merchant families, founded by Suleiman S. Olayan in 1947. He started with no blood ties to the Al Saud. He worked as a dispatcher and translator for an Aramco predecessor and built a diversified conglomerate: Coca-Cola bottling, Burger King, oil field services, real estate, and massive U.S. equity stakes in BlackRock, JP Morgan, etc. The group is now led by his daughters, Lubna and Hutham. Recent Bloomberg estimates put the family's fortune at $50 billion plus. Some sources say well over $100 billion, which would make them richer than Prince Al-Walid. Their connections to MBS, they're not royals and were not swept up in MBS's 2017 Ritz-Carlton detentions, unlike Al-Walid and dozens of princes and businessmen. They have publicly aligned with Vision 2030, were among the local families MBS's circle tapped to support the 2019 Aramco IPO when foreign demand was weak, and are described as an indispensable national fixture whose loyalty during tough periods has given them standing. It's funny how that theme keeps coming up. Lubna Olayan sat next to Elon Musk at the November 2025 White House State Dinner for MBS. Wall Street figures treat them as a key private sector bridge into MBS's economy. To Al-Walid, they are peers and sometimes compared, but they are not the same family and have different relationships to power. Al-Walid bin Talal, that's this guy here, is a royal, grandson of the kingdom's founder. He was detained in the 2017 crackdown, later reached a confidential settlement, and the Public Investment Fund took a stake in his kingdom holding. So it sounds like there was a, like a ransom negotiated. The Olayans were left untouched and are now routinely described as wealthier and more low profile. They've competed for influence in deals, both recorded for Aramco IPO commitments rather than being allied or related by blood. So interesting. Yeah, I'm not like super up to date on all the different nuances of Saudi Arabian politics, but it's one of those that I now have kind of a persistent pin in my head to keep an eye out for things related to it.
So I think getting back America to center, at least to center, not necessarily to the right, to center, that in itself is a big achievement for America.
So you hear that in countries around the world. We admire the United States, the entire leadership of...
Pale Morning Dude said, is that the group he still has a strong relationship with? Bessent, I mean, yes. Yes, that's the group he described himself as still having a strong relationship with.
Most of the world went to college in the United States.
Yes.
How did people in this region and other countries visit feel about seeing men dressed as women at the White House and all that stuff? Were they...
It's crazy. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. And this transgender idea right now, I mean, having the military, all those transgender people, and toilets, having being mixed, and, having, for example, a male who was transferred to a lady going to compete into women's sports. It's too much. It's going too far. It's just too much. I mean, we reached a stage in America, if you're not woke, I mean, you are crazy or you are anti-establishment. I don't think it's too much. It's going too far. So I think what Trump is doing right now is at least moving to the center.
Yes.
We are not against LGBTQ, even the plus, whatever the plus means.
What is the plus?
That's a scary part. I would rather not talk about it.
You'd rather not talk about the plus?
I would rather not talk about it. That's very scary.
Yeah,
the plus. LGBTQ and the...
I remember listening to this and getting a kick out of this guy, like thinking that he was entertaining, and I remember now it was because of that part.
But the plus, that's we can have another interview for that. Let's put this aside.
I'm comfortable with that. Thank you very much. So that, I mean, you must have been confused watching that. This is a country you went to school in, you know well.
Yeah, I lived in America. And when I was in America, you have left wing, right wing, that's fine.
Yes.
But to go that much to the left and have this woke movement, no, it went too far. Look, America leads the world. I understand there are, China wants to be there, India wants to be there, the European want to be there. At the end of the day, America is leading the world, whether you like it or not. No matter how isolationist policies are adopted in America, America will still lead the world for many years to come.
Yes.
Politically, economically, financially, in all cases. So we want America to lead the right way. You cannot lead America. You cannot lead the world with this woke movement. You cannot. We would not accept that.
You're one of the biggest media investors in the world and have been. I worked for a company. I think you were the biggest outside investor, in News Corp, Fox News. And you've got investments in many different media companies. Many of those media companies went way to the left. What did you think of that as a shareholder?
Yeah. Our main investment was with Fox, frankly speaking, and News Corp with Murdoch. Murdoch was always, mainstream to the right a little bit, obviously. So we did have a lot of other investments, small ones, but they were all divested a long time ago.
Yeah.
But our main investment in all media, legacy media, was with Murdoch, and we sold out, a year before he merged his entities with Disney.
Yeah.
Yes. So no, the media in America went too much to the left, and most of them.
Oh yeah, he does kind of look like Yuri Bezmenov. That's crazy. I just looked up those sisters that were mentioned. This is them here. Saudi sisters wielding $50 billion connect Wall Street to Riyadh. Let's see here. Seated next to Elon Musk was Lubna Olayan. The sprawling, secretive Saudi empire that Lubna and her sister Hutham have helmed for decades. They came of age at a time when women weren't permitted to drive and needed a male guardian's permission to even get a passport in the kingdom. Yet they've managed to steer the family conglomerate into a behemoth that operates at the scale of a sovereign wealth fund. They control a nearly $13 billion stock portfolio in the U.S. with stakes worth almost $1 billion in BlackRock and a $1.5 billion in J.P. Morgan Chase & Co. A large investor in Credit Suisse before its collapse, the conglomerate boasts a prime property portfolio that spans from Madison Avenue to central London. It has forged a large Dubai real estate deal with Brookfield Corp. That's very interesting. I mean, probably not surprising that a massively wealthy Saudi family has a real estate deal with a massive Canadian financial behemoth. But that is interesting. Brookfield has strong connections to Mark Carney. I believe he used to be their chairman or something like that. Their fortune is valued at more than $50 billion. Doesn't fully reflect the magnitude of their riches, according to people familiar with the matter, as the group discloses limited financial info. Many of them have pegged their net worth well above $100 billion, putting them in the same league as Bill Gates, Carlos Slim, and Mukesh Ambani. It's crazy that there's some wildly wealthy person in the world who's on public lists of wildly wealthy people I've never heard of. Mukesh Ambani. Who is this? An Indian businessman. Surprise, surprise. Richest person in Asia. Net worth of $91.8 billion. Chairman and managing director of Reliance Industries, the largest public company in India by market capitalization. That's funny. The largest public company in India is called Reliance Industries. Makes them richer than Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, the royal known as Saudi Arabia's Warren Buffett. Their influence extends well beyond that financial firepower. There was something else here that I saw that was interesting. Down here. Hutham and Lubna, both in their early 70s, were born in Saudi Arabia to Suleiman Olayan. The patriarch was orphaned at a young age and started out working as a dispatcher for the predecessor company of Saudi Aramco, leveraging his fluent English. He mortgaged his house for $8,000 to win a pipeline contract, eventually launching the Olayan Group in 1947. So $8,000 mortgaged against his house in 1947? It's interesting. So he was an orphan who was fluent in English, and in 1947, he had a house that he could mortgage for $8,000. How much is that? How much in 1947? About $120,000 today. Very interesting. From there, he diversified aggressively, and the group went on to strike partnerships to sell Colgate toothpaste, Oreos, and Coca-Cola in the kingdom. He bought U.S. equities to use as credit with American banks, and by 1980, his conglomerate brought in more than $300 million in annual revenue. His globalist bent created a uniquely binational empire that the daughters were immersed in early. Both studied in the U.S. and were given significant jobs in the family business on their return. After Suleiman's death in 2002, his son Khaled was named chairman of the Olayan Group, but Lubna and Houtham helped run much of the family's vast operations. The sisters married foreigners, took on prominent roles. Lubna was the first woman elected to the board of a public company in Saudi Arabia in 2004. Even then, women's rights were severely limited in the kingdom. Only in 2018 were women finally given the right to drive. So, yeah, that's... Whoa, this is interesting. The group is now officially headquartered in Liechtenstein. Tobias, where are you? Someone tag Tobias. Liechtenstein mentioned. Offices around the world, including in Athens, where Lubna's lawyer husband has deep ties. They've gained a reputation for running a stringently professional organization that's sophisticated in its deal-making at a level not typically seen at family offices. So, if you just joined, this is the family, the Saudi Arabian family that that Scott Bessent worked with and maintains a close relationship to. Al Walid, worth about $17 billion these days, has made a comeback of sorts in recent years, and his investment group has benefited from the kingdom's construction frenzy. In the 1990s, the businessman was known for a flamboyant lifestyle, frequently pictured on a private yacht purchased from Donald Trump. The Alliance do things differently. Normally, we don't seek the limelight, especially anything splashy, Houtham said. We avoid excess, we're pretty frugal. A longtime investor in Credit Suisse. The losses were at a scale that could roil large financial firms, but one international executive recalls the collapse being treated as a relative non-event within the Olayan Group. The conglomerate continued to execute transactions and payments as normal during the period. Saudi National Bank, the Swiss lender's top shareholder. So, Credit Suisse's top shareholder was the Saudi National Bank. It was among the firms that lost money on its investment, and its chairman resigned in the aftermath. The Alliance acquired a stake in the ICD Brookfield Place Tower in Dubai. It's amazing how small of a world the once you hit a certain level, it's a pretty small world. Like, we've got a connection here with you got Al Walid, you've got Elon, you've got Bessent, you've got the Olayan sisters, and Mark Carney, who are all like directly one person away from each other. Despite recent fiscal pressure, Saudi Arabia remains a lucrative market for the titans of global finance. Riyadh ranks as one of the biggest issuers of debt in recent years, while the kingdom's wealth fund has shown an appetite for blockbuster deals like the recent $55 billion transaction to take EA Inc. private. Lubna has close connections to BlackRock co-founder Larry Fink and was recently named co-chair of the U.S. Saudi Business Council alongside Citi's Fraser. Houtham sits on the board of Brookfield, which ranks as one of the biggest private equity investors in the Middle East. So this adds a whole new layer of intrigue to the trade war with Canada right now. Anything else that catches the eye in here? In 2018, as much of Wall Street avoided the kingdom's FII conference after Saudi agents murdered a columnist, Jamal Khashoggi, Lubna used the start of a panel discussion to mourn his death, saying that the act ran counter to Saudi values. Multiple people described Lubna as frank and outgoing, with her reputation for being deeply involved with her investments. Like her father, she's worldly and warm, but also incisive. If you talk with her about current events, it's not just this happened. She understands why things are moving the way they are. Houtham, meanwhile, appears soft-spoken and grandmotherly in conversation, but her line of gentle questioning can elicit small details that serve as fodder for the negotiating table. The sisters are among the few people who understand the true extent of their sprawling business in its entirety and tightly control its financial details. Very, very interesting.
The only remaining soldier, frankly speaking, who really withstood the heat is really Murdoch, the Murdoch Empire. Whether it's Fox, New York Post, Wall Street Journal, and Fox, they're all, sent to the right.
So you divested from Fox, from News Corp, and then you made a huge investment in X under Elon.
Exactly.
Why'd you do that?
Yeah, most of our investments now went to X and XAI. Obviously, they were with Musk. Now, I call X really is the new media, frankly speaking. X. That's why we invested. And with Mr. Musk, I think he's a big force to be reckoned with, frankly speaking. And we are second biggest shareholder in X and XAI.
So the sale of X was closely watched by everybody around the world.
Yeah.
He wound up buying the company at what seemed like twice its actual value. And
Mr. Stu says, let's just never forget how all these foreign banks are nothing without relying on our economy to even exist. Yeah, like part of the reason why all of this is very interesting to me is because, like people treat the this applies for lots of different regions of the world, but in particular the Middle East. They treat the Middle East as if it's this just sort of like isolated region, and there's Europe, and there's the Middle East, and there's China, and there's Africa, but like all of these, they're all like mashed up together, and all of the big movers and shakers of any sort of substance in the Middle East are all deeply tied in directly to European finance and European real estate. And, it's like, so like you can't you can't shake a stick out anywhere out there without whacking into some connection to like British intelligence or French intelligence or Swiss or, so it's like you got to be able to recognize that the action can be happening in the Middle East, but the real players, the real targets are not in the Middle East.
And people made fun of him. Where is it now, would you say?
Yeah, on our books. We have two investments. We have Kingdom Holding, which I share.
Yes.
And I have my private investments. So we have with Musk around $3 billion investments. In our books, it's valued more than 50% more. Clearly, as for X, we never devalued it. We, some entities did devalue it by 30, 40, 50%. We never devalued it. Clearly, now after the election of President Trump and after the strong alliance between Musk and President Trump, we've seen the market having revalue upwards X dramatically, at least to its par value at the $44 billion that he paid for it.
And you can also see how deeply intertwined all these different factions are. So it's like, I think it's easy. It's difficult to imagine things at this level of complexity with all the different overlapping Venn diagrams and stuff. But you can see how much they are financially and corporately entangled with one another. So it's not like there's really cleanly on one side all of these people versus really cleanly on the other side all of these people. There's a whole bunch of different interspersed networks that are all jockeying and moving against each other. So everything is going to wind up looking like some sort of negotiated settlement.
What do you think its actual value is?
I believe the actual value is more than double, frankly speaking.
More than double the 44 he paid.
Exactly, and it's going more than double. And it's going to happen right now because video is going to come, and now pay is going to come into it. They're going to pay X. It's going to happen right now in the first quarter. So many things is going to happen to X to have it as the main hub and anchor for many things around it.
So, but as a political and social force.
So X, he's describing X as being like the core that then has all these other different operations that are adjacent to it. But it's it's essentially the town square of the internet.
Is there a more powerful media organization?
As stands today, I believe X is really number one. We've seen how Meta tried to have another company, Thread, but it didn't take off.
Why?
And, look, I think X really began very forcefully and strongly, and the freedom of speech was open. Clearly, when everyone was against X, freedom of speech and freedom of expression without much fact checking, that gave it the forum to be the anchor of the new media in the world. And you see right now, Meta is moving the X model. As I told you when I just met you off the record a minute ago, that Meta now is being Xized. It's being like X right now, and this helps X reaching its potential of being fully valued at $44 billion and more. So all the advertisers that really so-called fled or left X are coming back right now because the alternative is doing exactly what X used to do.
Just Asking Question says, are you saying that sometimes we won't understand what our president is doing geopolitically because it's highly complex, so we just need a truce? Got it. You've got it, sir. We will continue to lurk over here in the peanut gallery and like peer in every once in a while and try to make sense of it all. That's what the astrolabe is for. But ultimately, that should be your biggest takeaway.
Right. So you think that Elon Musk has had a big effect on Mark Zuckerberg.
There's no doubt, because we have seen now Mark Zuckerberg and Meta is moving to the X model. Not only that, not only operationally, but you've seen just lately that that Meta is going to move its so-called administrative headquarters from Delaware to Texas. So really, Musk and X being followed all across the board.
So you think Zuckerberg's just kind of trailing behind Elon Musk, doing what he does?
Well, I look, Musk is very close to the leader of the whole world, President Trump. And no businessman, whether it is Mark Zuckerberg or Mr. Bezos or the Google head, want Musk to be the only man who has the ear of President Trump. They all want to have at least a small piece of the pie.
Yes.
And that's what's happening, basically.
That's pretty insightful. He's like, well, yeah, of course he's following Musk because like he's mimicking what Musk does. Well, Musk does this and he's successful and he has the ear and the trust of the president. So I should become more like Musk. And remember, this is February 5, 2025. So this is 2 weeks after the inauguration.
But what's interesting, clearly, but what's interesting is that they didn't want it the first time. All these businessmen, smartest, most powerful in the world, made a bet in 2016 that opposing Trump would pay off for them. Why do you think they did that?
It was a wrong bet.
Yeah.
Very bluntly speaking, it was a wrong bet. Trump came back in a major upset.
He must have scared the hell out of them when he got elected. Imagine?
No one expected Trump to come back, frankly speaking. And frankly speaking, the Democrats played a very big, big mistake. They custom made, I talk as an independent. I'm a Saudi. Yeah. I'm a royalist, neither Democrat or Republican. I love America. They clearly custom made those lawsuits against them to be an election year. And I understand it's very delicate. Not many people in America could speak this language freely, but they custom made it to be an election year. And that backfired, frankly speaking, and helped Trump being elected.
Yes.
And they're custom made to be. Why waited 3 years after Trump left, and they all came, these lawsuits in the last 1 year of the Biden era? That was too much.
So you
think they have very obviously, intentionally tried to bog him down in lawsuits during an election year as a way of trying to keep him from being elected, and it backfired because it was very obvious what they were trying to do.
And you didn't see that as the equal application of the law.
Come on, give me a break. That's very clear. I lived in America. I know America very well. There's too much politics. That's one of the attributing reasons that caused Trump to win. The American public rejected these lawsuits and all those so-called indictments or whatever they are.
Do you ever feel like you can't trust the things you hear or read? Like every news source is hollow, distorted, or clearly just propaganda lying to you? Well, you're not imagining it. If the last few years have proven anything, it's that legacy media exists to distort the truth and to control you, to gatekeep information from the public instead of letting you know what's actually going on. They don't want you to know. But there is, however, a publication that fights this, that is not propaganda, one that we read every month and have for many years. It's called Imprimis. It's from Hillsdale College in Michigan. Imprimis is a free speech digest that features some of the best minds in the country addressing the questions that actually matter, the ones that are not addressed in the Washington Post or NBC News. The best part of it, it is free, no cost whatsoever, no strings, no charge, free today. This stays a democracy is if the citizenry is informed. Don't wait, sign up now. So if you're Mark Zuckerberg,
I can't even stomach listening to his new episodes that he puts out. I can't put myself through that.
And you spent $400 million to beat Trump in 2020, and all of a sudden he rises from the grave. How do you feel? Terrified, right?
Well, at least, to acknowledge your mistake and to correct it is better than continue with your mistake.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I'm invested in Meta also. Yeah. Smaller scale, not like X, but I'm invested in X. And he's right. Look at the share price, reflected in the share price.
You've invested in XAI. What do you envision the world looks like in 10 years, thanks to AI?
Well, no doubt that, artificial intelligence is
like after.
Now, this is kind of interesting because here's the episode with Bovino.
It's an interesting
and he actually looks kind of the same here. And the lighting is obviously different, but here he definitely looks thinner and a little more weathered, perhaps, but I don't know what it is with some of these pictures and stuff that have come out lately. Is there a Tucker clone? Is that what it is? Do we have a cloned Tucker? And occasionally we get the fat one, and then sometimes we get the super weathered skinny one.
in 10 years, thanks to AI?
Well, no doubt that artificial intelligence is going to play a big role in having a revolution in the whole in the social industry, in the economics, politics, economics, finance, etc. So AI is just beginning. We're in the first inning right now.
Yes,
and there's no doubt that AI and artificial intelligence will really impact the lives of everybody.
I often hear people say that. I'm not exactly. I mean, I know that like the entire upper middle class of the United States is going to be unemployed. It sounds like that's bad. But I don't understand what the other effects are of AI.
Look, it's too early to judge, frankly speaking, right now. But I hope that the AI really is used, for the good causes. We hear a lot of doomsday scenarios. I talked to Musk about that. I had with him 3 video calls, and I did ask him about this question very explicitly. And he believes that 80 to 90% will be positive, but still 0 to 10% could be evilish. So we have to be very careful about that. But I'm positive about AI because most people are really good, positive, and they'll utilize AI in a way to help the world society.
Elon, when he came into X, when you invested, fired what percentage of the staff?
When Musk took over, they had around 8,000 people, and he fired 6,500 people and went down to 1,500. And that's all documented, obviously.
Yes.
And that's one of the items where I'm really upset from the legacy media, where they said they cursed Musk and X for firing 6,500 people, and they were worried about their social lives and how disruptive.
See, this was the image that really got people wondering what the hell's going on. Because like that's a serious difference. I don't know if this is just like a lens thing or something, but here, let me
disrupted their lives, which is fine. I mean, eventually they'll have jobs. But no one talked about the economical and financial impact of firing 6,500 people on Twitter. They saved more than $2 billion. And that saved the day because, many advertisers did leave X. And there are 2 components of profitability: increased revenues or decreased expenses. So clearly revenues did go down, but expenses went down dramatically also. So that broke even.
I want to hear what he's saying.
So really that saved the day. Yes, 6,500 people were out, and X was run more efficiently. Because I'm always in touch with Glinda.
Yes.
The CEO of, and I'm always in touch with Jared.
So look at that. Look at that difference. I mean, that's pretty dramatic. Could that obviously he's lost weight, period. But could this just be like lens things that, and that is, this here looks like he lost 100 pounds. But then that video, the clip of him with Bovino, he didn't look that much thinner. I don't know.
Right-hand man of Musk, and I'm in touch with Musk, and I follow this very closely because I'm, a private investor there. So we know what's going inside. The company is performing a lot better with 1,500 people. So if Mr. Musk duplicate that on what he's doing right now with the U.S. budget, and he can save hundreds of billions of dollars, forget $2 trillion, maybe that's a bit too extreme, but he can save hundreds of billions of dollars, and you can have America reduce its budget deficit dramatically, let alone to have it balanced. That is a huge achievement. Huge achievement for Mr. Musk personally and for the U.S. administration, Trump, and the U.S. people.
You think he can do it?
Look, he's a bulldozer. I know him very well. And when I talk to him, the guy is just so straight to the point, no nonsense at all. If there's anyone to do it, frankly speaking, it's Musk through the Dodge.
So Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They're in close alliance now. Elon is not a government official, obviously, but he is, you have to say, one of the top advisors. Can that partnership last?
Look, they are both big figures, but Trump is president of the United States. Musk is the richest man in the world. He's one of the most powerful, if not most powerful man in the world. You have to acknowledge that. That's a fact.
Yes.
And I think for the sake of the United States, we want them to function very well. We want them to succeed very well. Clearly each one has a huge ego for sure, and rightly so. They have to have an ego. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I really sincerely hope that they can function together. Musk is a very pragmatic person, logical person, because he has a mission. He wants to cut the cost in the U.S. system, in the U.S. Budget system, and he wants to really balance the budget as much as he can. He told me that personally in my last phone call with him, and I believe he's given the tools, frankly speaking, and I hope they're all successful. Frankly speaking, we all love the United States. We want America to have strong footings. You cannot be strong if you have all these budget deficits and trade deficits, and that will make you limp eventually.
Yeah, Logan says that's Ozempic face plus bad lighting. Jay Dare had a phase like that after he lost weight. Yeah. I mean, everyone says Ozempic face, and that's kind of what I thought too. But then Tucker is also totally railed against Ozempic, and he had what was their names? That the brother and sister. Their names are escaping me now, but I can't remember. They were like the Maha people. He had them on, and they talked about how terrible Ozempic was, and he talked about how awful it sounded and everything. So I mean, he could just be like full of shit. But I'm kind of surprised if he actually did do Ozempic. I kind of think that he's just in a tremendous amount of spiritual turmoil.
Western Europe seems like it's falling apart. Is that your impression?
Western Europe really is aging, is sick. You know, you've seen most of the West Europe specifically, they have wrong policies, bureaucracy, low speed and movement. You know, we see Italy, for example, under Meloni. You know, she's not the star. Yes. She's a conservative, I would not say right-wing, frankly speaking. No, she's very conservative and pragmatic lady. And look now, Italy is the star.
It's kind of interesting that he says she's not right-wing, but she's very conservative.
In all Europe right now. But really,
Did you ever think you would live long enough to say Italy is now the star of Europe?
Yeah, I really hope that Europe wakes up, because West Europe is alive United States.
Of course.
But really, look at the policies in England, UK, France, Germany, Spain. They are all really very much backwards. They need to wake up, frankly speaking.
Can a country run without energy?
It's almost impossible. You cannot. I mean, right, so look at UK. I mean, look, the Labour took the reign of power from the Conservatives, and look where they are right now. They're exactly where the Conservatives were when they left the government a few months ago.
So
I can't help but enjoy the guy. Like I think he's entertaining.
The UK is running out of natural gas, and that's true across Western Europe. These countries don't have enough energy to have first world economies. Will that change?
Look, I'm not worried about that, frankly speaking, because they will always find a way to find gas. Whether it's United States or other parts. You see, the Arab world also did help a lot in supplying the Western Europe with gas. Once they shut down the pipes from Russia. So
I think the Biden administration blew them up, right?
We heard about that.
Did you hear about that?
I know that. I heard about it.
That made the news.
Unfortunately.
Why would the Germans allow their allies in Washington?
Tip the streamer, folks. Tips.kingpill.com. There is a pause screen. Holy cow.
To blow up their natural gas pipeline and not say anything about it.
Well, you said it, and you should answer that question.
I have some theories. But you're saying that all their ideas are leading to their destruction.
Yeah, I think at least they're leading to their look, they have so many problems in West Europe, and unfortunately they're not being acknowledged. And you have seen them, a lot of right-wing parties, like in France, Le Pen, for example, coming very strongly. And she may well win the elections in a few years from now. So all this causing the right wing to come up very strongly, unless they wake up so fast and do some quick remedies to their economical policies and also their political system.
It's just funny to hear you say that. So in Europe, you often hear say it's a battle between, the native population and the Muslim immigrants. Here you are, a Muslim with prayer beads in your hand, saying you want more right-wing parties in Europe.
Well, I really am asking.
Oh, that was a sentence and a half. There you go. There's a little signal of what was to come. You're a Muslim with prayer beads in your hands who wants more right-wing parties in Europe. I wonder what the motivation could be there.
Asking for to be more centrist, for sure. Look at, for example, Meloni. When she ran on a very right-wing policy.
Yes.
But when she took over, she just went to center.
That's true.
When you reign, when you take power, you are forced to be more pragmatic.
Yes.
She's a very pragmatic lady.
Yes.
And her policies are very logical and centrist. So many policies of the left wing really failed in Europe. It did not work. And I really hope that they go back to center and find really take major decisions to really jumpstart the process, like Trump is doing out in America. Trump is shaking up the whole U.S. political system.
No, Sue, those are Muslim prayer beads.
Political system, economical system, financial system. Even now we have tariffs now. I mean, this is still, we're on uncharted territory. We don't know where it's going to be heading. We don't know if these tariffs are there to stay or they're there for negotiating tool to reach some conclusions with Canada and Mexico.
Well, you've negotiated with Trump, against Trump, to buy the plaza and his boat. What do you think?
Well, when negotiating was a businessman. Now he's the leader of the strongest country in the world, the United States of America. I think with Trump, if you come with him straight and not necessarily succumb to what he's asking for. But if you're logical and pragmatic with him, you can reach a conclusion, a deal, and very fast.
How long did it take you to negotiate the purchase of the plaza?
Less than a week.
Less than a week?
Yes.
Huh.
And his boat, less than a week. Very swift, very fast.
So you think the tariffs are just an opening round in negotiation?
Possibly, we don't know yet. Possibly. But the 25% tariffs on both the northern neighbor and southern neighbor, Canada and Mexico, they're pretty high. You've seen now how the auto industry was devastated today. They're down more than 10-15%.
Sure. In trading, but the industry itself is
sure. It's too early to judge, frank speaking.
Right.
That's the trading, because today they announced the system. Today is Monday. They're going to announce. It was announced just now, and the instantaneous reflection on that was very negative, obviously. On
Here's something interesting that just came across the Twitter timeline. Latinx adjacent Dr. PhD says there's some evidence from recent satellite photos of Oman that the U.S. has dredged out a path for tankers shown here. And if so, there's no wonder Iran can't see or target anything. Wouldn't that be interesting? Matt Forney says in 332 BC, Alexander the Great conquered the unconquerable city of Tyre by building a land bridge to destroy its advantage of being an island. In 2026, Trump the Great dredged out a strait to destroy the advantage of the unconquerable nation of Iran. Iran would have no line of sight to them from Syria, regardless of elevation, because of the Earth's curvature. And it would allow the U.S. to concentrate on a very small boat exclusion area, less than 10 square kilometers. That's very interesting. KG says, I don't think it requires dredging. I think most avoid that route due to turbulent waters, the wave symbol. What's it called? Fak al-Assad. Has the U.S. made it safer somehow, removing rocks or widening it? Maybe they dredged it a bit at the 65-foot contour and got it down to 75 feet so VLCCs can make it through. It's a really small amount of work in terms of dredging, not even 2,000 feet of dredging needed. We also blew up every tall building they had on the coast. But at over 25 miles away, it's next to useless. Mean elevation, the islands over there is 40 meters, meaning you can't see anything there, period. Gonna laugh my ass off when it turns out the fucking Seabees showed up at ass crack 30 in the morning, changed a channel between two islands with a bunch of hand tools and a dredge, then disappeared like a fart in the wind. It was naturally 28 meters deep, so it would be big enough for VLCCs, but probably widened it. How confident are we this actually happened? Not 100%, but I have no idea why tankers would be between these islands otherwise. Not a sailor, but low-res maps show C4 contour very steep here. Big holes can hug very close. I'm not sure dredging shortcut buys much time. I think this is just a new route that reduces exposure in the high-risk area. It would remove Syriac entirely as a path to interact with vessels. By the time they saw them, they'd be too far away. Yeah, Latinx adjacent Dr. PhD is a very, very good follow. He's a must follow, you might even say.
On the auto industry.
So, getting into a trade war with Canada and China, both of whom are totally dependent on the United States, they couldn't exist with the U.S., is different from doing that with China. How does that work?
Well, look, China, I was reading yesterday that China, Xi Jinping did not really answer, did not reply yet. He's taking his time, he's composed, is more long-termer. Look, China, his dynasty has been 4,000 years old, so really 1 year, one month, 4 years of tenure of any president, really, they're not too fast in replying. We have seen Chinese government not officially reply yet. We've seen Trudeau, we've seen Mexico replying already very aggressively in putting similar tariffs, especially in Canada. So we have not seen the reply of China yet. But China, for sure, is different behemoth completely. It's a different ball game.
Do you believe the story about DeepSeek, their AI project, that it was developed for under $6 million? And is that real? Look, we're investors with Musk, and Musk is a genius of our era. And clearly, he's very conservative in the way he spends now. We put to them.
That's an interesting response to that. He's like, what do you think of this Chinese AI model? Listen, we're investors with Musk.
billions of dollars in having all these big mega centers being built in the United States. So really, $5.6 million for this DeepSeek. I really doubt this a little bit. So, and we're still very early part of this developing story to see if it's true or not, and to see whether they really steal anything from OpenAI or where the truth is exactly. But I think you have to give it some more time to see where the DeepSeek fit in the overall AI equation globally.
So there's, by far the biggest real estate investments in the U.S. and probably around the world are in data centers for AI and other processing. Can those data centers run on windmills and batteries?
Well, we have seen now many of those big companies now are trying.
So Tucker's concerned that the data centers are not going to be able to run because of energy concerns.
To go other paths, nuclear. Nuclear. So we are really very much in the early innings about all what's happening. But our bet, frankly speaking, is on Musk, on the AI, on the AI game. We invested with them in the first round and second round. We're backing them all the way, and we've seen very strong alliance between XAI and X. There's a lot of relationship between them that's really causing a lot of positive for both companies.
Yes.
But
for the past 15 years, the rest of us have been getting lectures about renewable energy, the green agenda, carbon zero. Basically hydrocarbons are bad. Solar, windmills are good. And the second it became clear that AI would need a lot more energy than projected, people like Larry Fink said, well, maybe it's a whole bunch of different energy sources. Do you think the green agenda is over thanks to AI?
Well, for sure, with the Trump election, the green revolution now has diminished a little bit. It's not as being in the prime time, as if I can use this term now. It's there, but I don't think it's going to be so much as being number one priority for the Trump administration. You know that, I know that.
The number one priority?
Yeah, I know. Maybe number 9 or 10. Maybe.
Trust Planstar says someone needs to do a master compilation of Tucker completely reversing all his positions within a few years. Yeah, there's a lot of ammo there.
But your peers in business, big investors, have been pushing green energy projects, all subsidized by various governments.
Yes.
Do you think that will stop? Do you think we'll stop getting lectures about how windmills are the future?
No, it will not stop, frankly speaking. I know Bill Gates, we are partners with him in many projects, and we have with him a project called the BEV, the Breakthrough Energy Venture, that is invested in hundreds of companies that are in non-carbon energy, and they're moving, frankly speaking, moving ahead. So I think they'll still be there, but it will not be the same momentum and same oomph.
Do you think the United States will?
Okay, so the next subjects here: Venezuela's oil reserves, American, Russian, and Chinese imperialism, why al-Walid refuses to invest in crypto, and the West's drug and alcohol problem. We'll get to that here in just a moment. I wanted to share something else here that was kind of interesting. So, Data Republican says, to quote a friend, caffeine and hate are my fuel. Stay tuned for Data Republican version 2 with this big web of different organizations all together. This chick says, sorry, I take it back. Here is my 5-minute sloppy research mapping what Data Republican is already advertising as some big research project meant to enlighten the masses. I've attached graphs showing who is behind the funding and how the money flows to left-wing organizations through Alliance for Global Justice, which she maps so sloppily on her graph. Note that her graph includes historical donations, which is why you can see over 120 projects. That does not mean all of them are receiving funding every year. Some projects may have been completed. Data Republican is retrieving information from Influence Watch, which is published by the Capital Research Center, a conservative research think tank focused heavily on left-leaning organizations, donors, and funding networks. They truly do an amazing job. CapitalResearch.org. So much for groundbreaking research. So shots fired at Data Republican. Here are the links to the AFGJ's IRS filings. So she's got this graph that she made. Doesn't show up fully on the screen here, but at the top it's the AFGJ funding ecosystem, from major donors to grassroots projects. Layer 1 is the key individuals, families, and networks. Layer 2 is the foundations and intermediaries. Layer 3 is the Alliance for Global Justice. And then Layer 4 is fiscally sponsored projects. So at Layer 1 here, you have George Soros and the Open Society Network, Pierre Omidyar, the eBay founder, we'll come back to him in just a moment, Eli and Edith Broad Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, the Hewlett Foundation, the Rockefeller Family Fund, and the Walton Family Foundation. Layer 2, the foundations and intermediaries. You have the Tide Center, the National Philanthropic Trust. So the Tide Center, the National Philanthropic Trust, the Tides Foundation, the Satterberg Foundation, the Freedom Together Foundation, the Fidelity Charitable, Colorado Health Foundation, and Amalgamated Charitable Foundation. And then there's other 288 funders, foundations, DAFs, donor-advised funds, individuals and institutions. So these all come together into the Alliance for Global Justice, a 501c3. I wonder if the Alliance for Global Justice is on the hit list. So fiscal sponsor of 122 plus projects as of September 2023. AFGJ's role provides legal, financial, and administrative infrastructure so grassroots projects can receive tax-deductible funds. So grassroots projects need to have access to tax-deductible funds. They can't run profitably. They have to run as nonprofits. So the Alliance for Global Justice is set up as the nonprofit fiscal sponsor so that all these different foundations and intermediaries can receive money from the key individuals, families, and networks and funnel them into the Alliance for Global Justice so that then it can be distributed out to Code Pink, Refuse Fascism, Black Lives Matter, Palestine Rights and BDS Movement, Answer Coalition, Democracy Now!, Center for Constitutional Rights, Samadown Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network, Youth versus Apocalypse, a climate justice youth movement, and United Students Against Sweatshops. And then the projects here, you've got the Trans Lifeline, Occupy Movement Solidarity, the Ruckus Society, Youth Organizing and Civic Engagement, War Resisters League, Anti-Militarism and Conscientious Objection, Detention Watch Network, Immigrant Rights and Detention Oversight, Carceral State Project, Anti-Mass Incarceration Advocacy, Musicians for Peace, Decolonize, Indigenous Rights and Decolonization, and Decolonize This Place, plus 110 more projects. So she just made this quick little graphic here, breaking this down. And then, what's this? So this is a bunch of the other projects, also Alliance for Global Justice Corp. These are some of the other things here. So you go through all this if you want. What I wanted to highlight here is Pierre Omidyar. I was like, that name rings a bell. Let me look up Pierre Omidyar real quick. A French-born Iranian-American billionaire. He was born Parviz Omidyar. Founder of eBay, where he served as chairman from 1998 to 2015. He is the grandson of the Imperial Iranian Army General Mahmoud Mir Jalali, who was instrumental in the 1921 rise of the Pahlavi dynasty, the overthrow of Mossadegh, and the building out of Iran's mechanized artillery forces and defense industries. As of August 2026, Forbes ranked him as the 255th richest person in the world with an estimated net worth of $12.5 billion. Omidyar and his wife Pamela founded Omidyar Network in 2004, becoming a long-term Democratic Party donor. Since 2010, he has been involved in online journalism as the head of investigative reporting and public affairs news service Honolulu Civil Beat. In 2013, he announced that he would create and finance First Look Media, a journalism venture to include Glenn Greenwald, Laura Poitras, and Jeremy Scahill. He was born in Paris, the son of Iranian parents who had immigrated to France for higher education. His mother earned her doctorate in linguistics at the Sorbonne. She was the daughter of the general, the former vice chairman of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Imperial Iran, and widely regarded as the father of Iran's military industries and tank forces. The family immigrated to the U.S. when Omidyar was a child. His father worked as a urologist at Johns Hopkins, now practices in Aliso Viejo, California. He attended Punahou School in Honolulu for 2 years, now serves on the school's board of trustees. His interest in computers began while he was a 9th grade student at the Potomac School in McLean, Virginia. So he started working for Claris, an Apple Computer subsidiary. How interesting is that? How interesting is that? The grandson of the Imperial Iranian Army General, who was instrumental in the rise of the Pahlavi dynasty, the overthrow of Mossadegh, and the building out of Iran's mechanized artillery forces and defense industries, becomes the 255th richest person in the world by founding eBay. And then he becomes one of the chief funders of Glenn Greenwald, good friend of Tucker Carlson. What did they mean by this?
Be the same momentum and same oomph.
Do you think the United States will change its relationship with Venezuela because of Venezuela's oil reserves?
Well, we have seen the U.S. emissary yesterday being there. He met Maduro in Venezuela. So, and I think it was very cooperative. He gave some hostages and he welcomed getting back all the immigrants. So he was very welcoming, and I'm sure Mr. Trump will love this. So it has to remain to be seen, because Venezuela, frankly speaking, they have a lot of oil reserves. More than 280 billion barrels.
So I think they have the deepest reserves in the world, proven reserves.
Exactly. So I don't know what's the ultimate policy from Mr. Trump. Trump is a very sophisticated man, and I think the fact that his emissary went immediately to Venezuela, whereby you have no relationship between both countries, and Venezuela was very welcoming. So that story you have to follow, because it's a developing story.
Well, I mean, we've spent the last 10 years trying to overthrow the Venezuelan government, and
unsuccessfully,
quite unsuccessfully. But then in one day, all of a sudden, well, I mean, we've spent the last 10 years trying to overthrow the Venezuelan government, and
unsuccessfully.
That to me, I don't know about you, but that to me struck me as smugness.
Unsuccessfully. But then in one day, all of a sudden, Venezuela says, yeah, here are all your hostages.
Yeah, sure.
And flies the American flag in Maduro's office. Like, what is this?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a Trump era. Quick summary.
What would happen if the U.S. did some sort of big energy deal with Venezuela?
What timing? What timing? I'm fascinated to hear the answer to this question.
Well, look, at the end of the day, Trump is pragmatic. Trump also has good allies in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, in Qatar. We're always friends, I mean, even if Venezuela is being blessed by the United States, it doesn't mean that they can go and produce 2-3 million barrels within months or weeks. So it's going to take them time to go back. All what they have has been obsolete. And frankly speaking, no new equipment has come to there. So even the capacity of Venezuela, they cannot produce more than 3-4 million barrels. So that's still okay. It will not really impact the whole industry dramatically. It will impact it for sure, but not necessarily devastated.
But over time, and it takes a while to build the infrastructure necessary to efficiently extract it. But I mean, over the next 10 years, you could see cheaper oil prices as a result of that, right?
Well, for sure. I mean, so that's why Saudi Arabia is transitioning from being an oil-based country into being a diversified economy. So that's why we're investing heavily in tourism. We're investing heavily into new minerals. We're investing into other alternatives to oil. We are diversifying our economy in many areas. So really, when the price of oil do sink to below $70 or $60, we have other alternatives really to withstand the heat and withstand the pressure of having less price of oil.
It's just funny that...
Saudi Arabia is positioning itself for an inevitable world where the oil market is substantially changed and permanently reduced to a level whereby Saudi Arabia can no longer produce it profitably, or at least not to the same level that they did before. How interesting. Mr. Steer says, wait, Saudi Arabia is diversifying away from oil so America doesn't take it over like we did Venezuela? Yeah. What would happen if we just disposed their president, took their oil, and had Marco Grande as their president while he runs Cuba? Yeah. Straight Buster says, going back through Tucker's catalog, I forgot he interviewed the president of Iran and prime minister of Qatar. I forgot about that too, but I remember it now that you said it. Never beating the allegations. No kidding.
That, it was a year ago, if you talk to any big investor, at least in public, they would say, no, the future is not more drilling for oil. The future is more windmills and solar panels. But you were saying, actually, the future sounds like it's more drilling for oil.
Well, what I'm saying is a Trump, drill, baby, drill. Trump wants the price of oil to go down.
Gold.
Yeah, clearly. But also, Trump also has his eye on the fracking in the United States, because the average cost to produce a barrel of fracking oil is also in the 50s to 60s also.
Right.
So he doesn't want that also to go off. So there's a balance here to what Mr. Trump can do, obviously.
You can put your own domestic extractors out of business.
Exactly. You don't do that. So you want to balance it now. Clearly, Trump came with a lot of, with a lot of momentum. But at the end of the day, when he has discussions with Saudi Arabia and with other OPEC countries, they will know that also Saudi Arabia wants the interest of the consumers to be taken into consideration also.
Right. There are a lot of...
Trump has a lot of big ideas, but when he has to confront OPEC, he's gonna realize he's gonna have to moderate some of his ambitions. Yeah, how's that going for you there, Prince Al Walid?
Competing interests. Exactly. The question of price per barrel. What do you think the kind of right number balancing all that is?
It's very difficult to judge this. Really, it all depends on supply and demand, frankly speaking.
Of course, but...
And you see China. China also has a big role in that. And you see the economy of China right now is moving in the 5-6% growth direction every year. So, there are a lot of factors that contribute into this whole big equation.
Do you think, I know that obviously Donald Trump wants it in the 60s. Do you think we'll see it there? Per barrel?
I hope not, frankly speaking, because I have this of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
I don't want to be 60, but I think long term, there's no doubt that the price of oil is heading not necessarily to the 100, but at least to where it is now, 6, 70, 80.
Okay, you think it'll stay there?
I think so.
I want to tell you about an amazing documentary series from our friend Sean Stone called All the President's Men, the Conspiracy Against Trump. It is a series of interviews with people at the very heart of the first Trump term, many of whom are close to the heart of the second Trump term. This is their stories about what permanent Washington tried to do to them, in many cases send them to prison, for the crime of supporting Donald Trump. Their words have never been more relevant than they are now. Steve Bannon, Kash Patel, I'm in there even. All the President's Men, the Conspiracy Against Trump, and you will find it only on tcntuckercarlson.com. Highly recommended.
How surreal.
You made a big bet on Russian energy right after the war in Ukraine started. 2022, I think.
Yes.
With Lukoil, Gazprom, Rosneft. I think those three.
Correct.
Maybe.
We invested in three companies.
How'd you do?
Well, we did well, frankly speaking. We did sell part of it. And we did with some small profit, and now we still have some stake there.
So the war starts in Ukraine, and everyone's running away from Russia and Russian energy. The world is, reorienting away from hydrocarbons in general, and you swoop in and make a huge bet on traditional Russian energy. Why'd you do that?
This was part of our investment philosophy and policy. We invested in so many companies that year in Western Europe, United States, and these three Russian companies were among them.
Right, but no, other people were not doing that. Why did you do that?
We are sometimes contrarian, and successfully so.
If you were to pick, apart from AI and energy, like another 2 or 3 industries that you think are a good bet moving forward.
Technology.
What kind?
Well, look, we are very heavily invested in technology. For example, in China, we are in many companies like Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, Didi. Baidu is very heavily involved also in artificial intelligence. In America, we are also invested in...
The Lab is the best and most important show on the internet, and if you think you're a tuned-in ball knower and not watching it, you're a retarded faggot.
So true.
Also, I'll take an Amazon gift card, please, and thank you. Penis.
A gift card for penis. Coming right up. Thank you, Mr. Sue.
We're Meta, we're X, XAI, in Snapchat. We are many companies also in America. So we have a diversified portfolio in technology. We are also in hospitality, in Four Seasons and Accor, and we have a very diversified portfolio.
So you're in Alibaba. 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, Jack Ma was a very famous person in the United States. He was doing his roadshow with JP Morgan. Everyone loved Jack Ma.
I just got a thing. Heads up, we've detected video in your stream belonging to someone else. Your stream may be something. So I'm just going to pause it for a minute. We still got another 15 minutes or so to go. But I did have something else here. This. So Council member Nithya Rahman from Los Angeles. Haven't heard this name in a while. The Los Feliz Neighborhood Council alerted our office in late 2025 to the need for a crosswalk at Sunset Drive and Bates Street, which has just been completed. Thank you to our incredible CD4 field team for continuing to problem solve, push for solutions, and make our streets safer. Improving our neighborhood street infrastructure. This is the project. This is the project that took them 9 months to complete. They literally painted a crosswalk. Just like 7 strips of yellow paint. That's it. They didn't even touch up the ones on the other side, going across the other way. They're substantially degraded between these two pictures. All they did is literally just paint 7 yellow stripes on the ground. Spencer Pratt says, holy shit, my sides. Nithya Rahman's big accomplishment is taking 9 months to paint 7 yellow stripes over a cracked street. How dumb do you have to be to post this? She didn't even try to Photoshop the crack away. Oh, man. Spencer Pratt is a treasure. Carlson's third-party fever dream is doomed. An opinion article here from Bloomberg. Carlson's third-party fever dream. Tucker Carlson's biggest challenge in building a new political party is the enormous resources and specialized expertise required to build out new infrastructure. Carlson's movement is likely to accelerate the slow unraveling of the Trump voter coalition, which carried the GOP to victory in 2 of the last 3 presidential elections. Carlson's effort may turn out to be an attempt to extract concessions from the Republican Party rather than a serious bid to launch a new party due to the costly and legally complex process of gaining access to the ballot in all 50 states. Tucker Carlson's biggest challenge in his presumed bid to jumpstart a fresh political party is not a conspiracy-drenched agenda or a vapid 10-point manifesto, but the enormous resources and specialized expertise required to build out new infrastructure. Let's see here. Taking Carlson at face value, he seems to imagine this unpopular war and hostility to Israel to be the magic beans that will grow into a giant stalk of a political movement, if not a party. Granted, the platform of principles Carlson unveiled covers more than foreign policy in the Washington-Jerusalem alliance. Except that what he's proposing as the basis for national renewal is the cliched gruel of the conspiratorial populace. Fairness? Honesty? Unity? These are worn-out platitudes. They don't even begin to bridge sharp divides on cultural, fiscal, and foreign policy matters, nor tackle intractable issues like the burgeoning federal debt, the rising threat of China, and the proliferation of artificial intelligence. I've got to admit, once upon a time, I've never been convinced of Tucker as a president, but I could have been persuaded in him running for some other sort of office, maybe being a vice president or something like that. Never really saw him as a president. But seeing him just over the last couple of years just demonstrate how much of a completely juvenile, vapid perspective he has on the world, it's insane imagining him being the person making decisions like the sorts of decisions that Trump makes just casually multiple times every day, synthesizing these big, complex, networked operations and everything, and making big bets, taking risks and everything. I can't imagine someone as vapid as Tucker being in a position to make, even if Tucker stops tuning out and comes back around again, he showed that he really, really lacks a level of practical depth. He's a theater kid. Let's see. So there's some interesting information here. This guy goes through about, okay. It's possible that Carlson's effort will turn out to be nothing more than an elaborate attempt to extract concessions from the Republican Party and its 2028 presidential nominee. He wouldn't be the first conservative populist or media fixture to leverage this notoriety with the GOP base to pressure the party establishment. Trump is now the party establishment. In 1992, columnist Pat Buchanan challenged President George H.W. Bush for the Republican nomination. He was never going to win, but Buchanan garnered enough interest from the GOP base to earn a prominent speaking slot at the Houston convention, delivering a historic address that contributed to the splintering of the impressive voter coalition Bush inherited from President Ronald Reagan and led to the incumbent's defeat. Carlson's movement could have similar ramifications for Republicans in 2028. There's a reason the Democratic and Republican parties have been entrenched for so long, and it's not shadowy power brokers manipulating the political system. Oh, thank goodness. Rather, it's that gaining access to the ballot in all 50 states and Washington, D.C.
I have to majorly take a shit. Do me a favor and pause the show for 5 minutes till I get back.
As you wish, Tinkerbell getting her fat ass stuck in a keyhole groiper. You have returned. I am now obligated. I must pause. We must wait for her Tinkerbell getting her fat ass stuck in a keyhole groiper to return. And so, as we wait, okay, that's enough of that. We waited long enough. I love you people. Please be like Tinkerbell getting her fat ass stuck in a keyhole groiper and go to tips.kingpill.com.
Your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. Your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. My children aren't going hungry. I'll do it. I'll drink your blood. And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up in a Hollywood? your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, well, I killed a cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. That's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first. I swear to God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get my hands around your throat.
There we go. Hopefully the shit is out. And we shall return. We shall continue. Okay, so gaining access to the ballot in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. is costly and legally complex with different rules and regulations and election lawyers required for most jurisdictions. Nascent political parties have tried and generally failed to launch due to an inability to surmount these hurdles. And that's before confronting an equally seismic obstacle: infrastructure. The U.S.'s two major political parties control a coast-to-coast network of party affiliates and grassroots organizers. They were assembled, expanded, and refined over decades, stretching from headquarters in the nation's capital to every state, most counties within the states, and even many communities within those counties. This political apparatus raises money, recruits, advises, and boosts candidates up and down the ballot, amplifies and reinforces messaging, gathers and curates voter data, and constructs and oversees the sophisticated voter turnout programs crucial to fielding competitive campaigns, never mind campaigns capable of winning those races. Consider No Labels, a political group that in 2024 aimed to challenge the Democratic and Republican Party's lock on the White House by creating the skeleton of a third party that would effectively nominate a viable alternative. Now, a political group in 2024 aiming to challenge the Uniparty by creating the skeleton of a third party. I have as my job, my career is in tracking and following all of the different storylines that are happening in the political and cultural environment of the United States. And I have never, before this article, heard of No Labels. Despite being backed by tens of millions of dollars solving the resource problem, No Labels struggled. The group failed to secure ballot lines in key states, let alone enough to compete for all 538 Electoral College votes. And their blueprint deliberately ignored infrastructure, delegating that task to a candidate that ultimately didn't materialize. No Labels eventually pulled the plug on the entire effort. Indeed, it's not surprising that the most successful third party in recent memory has been Trump's takeover of the GOP from within. This is part of why the two parties aren't going away anytime soon. There's never going to be a successful third party. To have a successful third party, you must run an insurgency within the existing parties. So eventually, you might have the name tag, the label, the title over the door will be the same, but eventually over time it becomes a different entity. Now, occasionally, it's been a very, very long time, but occasionally you actually do get the death of one of the old parties in all forms that matters, and the emergence of a new party. But I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. If there was the possibility of it, it would be the Democrats. But that's the biggest reason, is because of all of the infrastructure that's required and all of the legal hurdles that it takes to get over that. Yeah, the Republicans started as an insurgency, and then Trump ran an insurgency on the Republicans, to where now, like, this article refers to him as the what did it say? Something about the establishment. He's like the The establishment GOP now is Trump. Okay, let's come back here and see if we can finish this.
Jack Ma company gets, one of the biggest market caps in the world, and then Jack Ma disappears. Whatever happened to Jack Ma?
I know Jack Ma very well.
I bet you do.
Yeah, I used to meet him always at the Microsoft meeting with Bill Gates. I think, Jack Ma really, China, look, is a centralized political system. And I think he went a bit too far, with the...
Yes, forgive me. Forgive me, my president. They are not the Democrats. Mr. Su, I appreciate you reminding me of this important fact. They are not the Democrats. They have been henceforth dubbed the Democrats. It was just sitting right there, just waiting for someone to pick it up. Another crown in the gutter. My president never, ever misses the crowns in the gutter.
I'm being very frank with you. He went a bit too far in his being outspoken against the regime and against the communist system. So he was just told to cool it down a little bit. And I think that's what happened. He's now in a cooling down period.
He's in a cooling down. Are his whereabouts known?
No, he's settling between Japan and China, yes. But he's coming out public a little bit right now, but he's not as high profile as before.
Yeah, no, he's not. The United States has a big military footprint in East Asia.
Jack Ma was the Chinese billionaire who who was himself yoinked and disappeared for a while.
Mostly in Korea and Japan, but also other countries. Can that continue?
Well, look, as I told you, America is a big force to be reckoned with. America is an empire. Now, we don't call it empires these days, but America is an empire. You have hegemony on the whole world, and America is a force to be listened to too. So I think these bases are very important to stay there to counter what's going on with China also.
Yes.
So I know America now is being more somehow a bit isolationist in its approach. But I think once Trump get more in the second term, he will acknowledge the fact that America needs to have this presence in all these areas to keep the strength of America consolidated.
Interesting. Talking about the military bases in Asia, and this is the first time in the entire interview where he's talked about China. He just finished talking about China with Jack Ma. No. He totally took the party line on Jack Ma. No, it's just fine. He's just fine. We didn't do anything to him. And he's talking about how invested he is in China and how China is such a big up and coming force and everything. And then he's like, oh no. President Trump's going to realize that it's important to maintain all of those bases there to contain China and everything.
So you say that as a big investor in Chinese companies, you want to see American troops in Asia stay there?
Yeah.
Well, in China, not necessarily against China, but you have a crazy guy in North Korea.
Who's really a proxy for China, though.
But still he's a loose cannon also.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he does take orders from China and somehow from.
What did he say?
Who's really a proxy for China, though.
But still he's a loose cannon also.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
What is he saying there? I can't understand him.
You have a crazy guy in North Korea,
who's really a proxy for China, though.
But still he's a loose cannon also.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he does take orders from China and somehow from Russia, but also he's a very independent guy and loose cannon also.
Do you know him?
No, I don't know him. No.
You have no North Korean investments at all?
No North Korean at all. If I'm going to go there, I'll ask Trump to introduce me to him. He's his friend. It was a bold move from President Trump to meet him.
Oh, I was there. It was a bold move. No, there's no doubt about it. And he took a lot of criticism. What do you, since you're from the Middle East, I would say your mother was Lebanese.
Yeah, it's giving me the alert again. It hasn't done this in a while. That's very interesting. We detected video in your stream belonging to someone else. I've watched entire Tucker interviews like this before. I'm going to try hitting play on it and just playing the audio and see if that does it.
Lebanese, you're related to people in power in a bunch of different countries. It's very common here for adversaries to meet and talk. In the West, in the last couple of decades, the idea has been, if we disagree with you, we're not talking to you. What do you think of that?
No, frankly speaking, I'm very much supporting what Trump does here. To talk to his adversaries, I think it's a plus. For example, now we hear that Trump is going to open communication with Putin on Ukraine. I think I'm for it, frankly speaking. Unless you engage, how can you reach a conclusion, an agreement, or an arrangement? I'm for it, frankly. I believe that's very bold from him to meet the leader of North Korea.
Yes. How would you describe Putin?
Well, Putin is a very smart man, and he calculates very well his moves. He's a very smart guy, and clearly one of the things he said, he feels sorry for the day that the Soviet Union disintegrated into all these 15 republics. So he has this empire mentality in him. It's in him. It's in his mind for sure. He still craves for the Soviet Union empire and the Tsarist empire that used to be there before the revolution happened in 1917.
Yes. Everyone wants an empire. Do you think China wants an empire?
Look, China, I think, they have...
He's definitely a very, very sharp character. He has tap danced his way through a number of these answers pretty effectively.
1.3 billion people. I think the first priority really is to control their domestic situation and have growth. Because look, China has a big problem. Look, you have a very...
By the way, I 100% don't believe the population statistics for China or for India, for that matter. Like those two, for sure, I don't believe the population statistics for them at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they're at least 40 or 50% lower than they're reported to be.
Open capitalistic economical system in China. Yet the political system is very centralized, authoritarian, and communist, obviously. Now these two don't go well together. So the question now, until when these two could happen and continue? China is very concerned about this internal situation, obviously, and they want to have this growth happening to really to have its people migrate from being the poor level to being middle class.
Yes.
So I think that's the main worry, frankly speaking, Russia for the foreseeable future.
But couldn't you say that about a lot of countries? Like if you had a monarchy that was liberalizing its economy and opening itself to the world, had a state religion, had a 1,000-year-old culture, wouldn't you be worried? I mean, how would that work? How could you maintain political control?
Look, I think you're alluding to Saudi Arabia and the Gulf region. Which is fine. Which is fine. Nothing. Look, we talk very...
Tucker laugh.
Free and openly.
I know.
Look, Saudi Arabia has legitimacy. And I just said in one interview a few weeks ago, look at the 6 monarchies in the Arab world.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Oman, Kuwait. These 6 monarchies. Add to them Morocco. Add to it Jordan. These are 8 monarchies. Look how, I'm not saying great, how good they're doing, how stable they are.
That is true.
How legitimate they are. Look at Jordan. Look at the neighborhood of Jordan. Around it, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Israel, and Hamas, and look how stable it is right now. Clearly, it's still a very difficult situation there. 8 monarchies, compare them with the other 14 republics in the Arab world. There are 22, obviously. There's no comparison between them. So we have legitimacy here in the monarchies headed by Saudi Arabia and other 7 countries.
The monarchs are stable. The republics are not.
I mean, of course, I disagree with you as an American, but I agree with you as a traveler. I mean, what you're saying is obviously true. But in our system, legitimacy comes from the consent of the governed. Our leaders are legitimate because we vote for them. No one votes for your crown prince, but it's also true that your country is thriving and the other 7 monarchies you mentioned are doing well relative to the republic. So,
Mr. Sue says, make that sign your Twitter banner. It actually used to be my Twitter banner, but I had to replace it because of this. This is the Twitter banner now. I couldn't resist. I had to do it. Come on, zoom in. It's literally me.
Why do you think that's true?
If you go to the public here and rate Prince Mohammed bin Salman, he will get 70 to 80%, if not 90% approval rating.
I think that's true.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, I believe that.
This says it all, frankly speaking. People would like to get stability, wants continuity, wants to be sure that the economy is doing well. People are fed up from all these wars and all these turmoils, and they see what's happening to the neighborhood. We've seen what's happening for example, in our Gulf region, headed by Saudi Arabia. We see what's happening in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen. We don't want all that. So really, frankly speaking, we are a very happy country here. All the Saudis are very happy with what's going on. Crown Prince is very popular. King Salman is beloved by everybody here. So frankly speaking, forget the elections. We're happy. We're okay.
Well,
he's again, he is walking the party line very, very well. He has nothing but good things to say about the Crown Prince who beat his ass.
I disagree with you in theory, but agree with you in practice because it's just what you're saying is it's just true. It's a fact. I don't want it to be a fact, but it is a fact. So what is that? I mean, democracy is just a kind of brief interlude in all human history. It's a pretty new thing. Do you think it has a future?
What do you mean by democracy? You mean in our region?
Well, if you're saying, I don't know. I mean, you're saying that all the republics in your region are struggling, all the monarchies are thriving, and that is roughly speaking true. There are other factors.
We have seen what happened to the so-called Bush democracy in Iraq. We have seen what happened there, that how could this whole thing collapse completely. You know, Iraq is a republic, correct? And we had the elections there, and we see the results. We don't want that confusion, chaos. Look, we have monarchies. We're happy with them. People are happy. That's what counts for us, to be honest with you. With all respect to Americans, with all respect to Tucker Carlson, my friend, you know, we're happy with our systems, and we will continue with it.
What is crypto?
His body language here is interesting. Watch him.
Monarchies, we're happy with them. People are happy. That's what counts for us, to be honest with you. With all respect to Americans, with all respect to Tucker Carlson, my friend, you know, we're happy with our systems, and we will continue with it.
What is?
That was in response to a question about does democracy have a future?
Crypto, exactly.
Well, crypto, you know, is a new system, you know, of a currency system that, you know, I don't buy, frankly speaking. We not invest in crypto at all. And I don't think it's for us at all, but it's there. It's facts right now.
It's a huge part of
I understand.
The fastest growing sector of the American economy.
I understand, but still, you know, I'm not a believer in that at all.
Why?
I will not invest there in crypto. You know, it's not regulated well. It is, you know, many U.S. Big businessmen do agree with me on that subject. You know, I don't understand it very well, and it is a new form of currency that is very, very confusing for me and complicated, and I don't understand.
Is it a currency or is it?
I feel like he's bullshitting. I mean, I think part of it, I think the fact that there's like regulatory uncertainty like has been a big thing that definitely lots of like big businessmen, as he says, would be hesitant to really get into it. But I feel like this is bullshitting, that he is fully aware of how deeply into the dark currency markets he is.
It's a form of payment.
That's what it's supposed to be, but from what I can tell, it's like something that you invest in.
Yeah. I mean,
it's kind of imaginary gold.
We have so many other investments to the world is full investments and better investments to invest in, and we never invested in crypto, and we never invest in crypto.
You're never going to invest in crypto. Nope. Then why are the banks, big banks in the United States? I mean, all your friends, they're all in crypto.
They are forced to. I mean, even JP Morgan that never believed in that, now they're forced to. I mean, sometimes you have facts that you have to go with, but you know, not necessarily with full conviction. But they are forced to go with it, unfortunately.
Why are they forced?
Well, look, many other banks are doing it, so they are forced for the clients. So many clients believe in crypto. Many clients in the world believe in crypto, and so they have to reflect the needs and the wishes of their own clients. So they go with it reluctantly.
Huh. I mean, if you have enough assets invested in crypto, at some point it becomes kind of dangerous, doesn't it?
For sure, definitely. You know, I believe it could be a time bomb waiting to explode. I could be wrong, but that's my own belief, and that's the belief of the head of JP Morgan, also Jamie Dimon.
You think he still thinks that?
He thinks that. And actually, when he was in Davos, they asked him a question. He refused to comment on it completely. I saw his interview. He declined to comment on it because he's fed up from saying it's bad.
So he's just giving up and not commenting.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's happening.
Huh. Are any other countries in this region embracing crypto?
I get the sense that Tucker senses that he's being bullshitted as well.
Yeah, there's some countries, you know. Yeah, some, but not heavily. Not heavily.
What about gold?
No, gold is you know, many countries have gold as one of their investments, for sure, yes.
Are you an investor in gold?
No, but we do have some small portfolio of gold, but nothing major, no. Nothing major.
Do you expect it to go much higher?
Well, you know, I mean, it goes up and down like...
Me when I'm bullshitting.
No, nothing major.
Do you expect it to go much higher?
Well, you know, I mean, it goes up and down like... Well, you know, I mean, it goes up, small portfolio of gold, but nothing major, no. Nothing major.
Do you expect it to go much higher?
Well, you know, I mean, it goes up and down like based on supply and demand, you know. But to us, really, it's not a priority, you know, gold. We're not very heavily invested in gold.
For your country, for Saudi Arabia, you've opened it up very dramatically, both physically opened it up. You're issuing visas to everybody, which you were not doing ever. But you've opened it up socially, women in the workforce, getting rid of guardianship, women driving most famously. What are the reforms, the liberalizations that you wouldn't do here? Where will you draw the line?
Look, Saudi Arabia opened a lot since 2015 when King Salman took over, and Prince Mohammed bin Salman got in charge of the local situation, and opened up a lot. And I'm very happy with this complete liberalization of the economy, liberalization socially, whereby women became incorporated in the society, equal opportunity. Women can drive now. basically it's a normalization of the woman incorporation into the society.
Yes.
So Prince Muhammad just made a woman equal to men, frankly speaking.
Yes.
It was a big achievement for us because for many years before that we were deprived from that, and I called for that many years ago, and thanks God happened. So really. There's no limit to where we can go, but obviously, no one wants to go beyond the limit. It's just like America. If you do everything within the law, within the legal system, it's acceptable.
Yes.
And that's what's happening here. Our country became normal.
Isn't it interesting that he started off talking about how conservative it is and how he's very personally conservative and he doesn't get down with all of that like silly liberal stuff. And also, we're not republics. We have monarchies, and the monarchies are great, and that's the way to be it. The people love it. The people love the monarchies, and also it's so great that that women can drive now, and women have been made equal to men. And I totally advocated for this a long time ago.
We normalize the situation with all our countries in the world.
Well, normal in the West is, alcohol for one thing, legalized marijuana, transgender teachers, transgender admirals. I mean, are there points where you say we don't want that?
No, look, frankly speaking, I'm very conservative.
It is weird that Tucker doesn't seem to be moved at all by the fact that the transgender admirals thing is a thing of the past.
No, I lived in America. I'm anti-alcohol, and I'm very happy that my country has no alcohol, frankly speaking, and I don't mind that at all. I'm a very liberal man socially, yet I'm very conservative when it comes to, for example, using drugs or alcohol. I'm very much against that. So these are off the limits for us, for sure, and we will not accept that in Saudi Arabia.
You can have tourism without alcohol?
It's happening already.
That's true.
It's happening already, to be honest with you. And if it's happening already, so it's being tested already right now. So frankly speaking, the answer is yes, it's possible, and it's happening.
And do you think they'll stick with it? The government will stick with it?
Well, I think this is for Saudi government to decide.
Of course.
I'm not government official. So far, so good. But it's for the government to decide what are the next steps on that front specifically.
So in our country, we had prohibition of alcohol for 14 years.
Yes.
And it is described to everybody, universally believed to be a massive failure. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's how history has recorded it. But you think it's a success here. Why do you?
14 years. What do you mean by this?
Look, Saudi Arabia is an Islamic country, and religion is an integral part of our society.
Yes.
And not having alcohol here is not really something that people are miss a lot. Clearly, when you have a Westerner come here, for sure, he would like to have some alcohol. There's no need to deny that, obviously. But I think to have an experience in Saudi Arabia without alcohol is something to be tried. But at the end of the day, it's the government, Saudi government, to decide if this is a policy to continue or not to continue. And it's going to continue in certain areas. You've been to Red Sea, I think.
Yes.
In certain areas, if you would like to have this to be permitted or not, it's not for me. But I'm willing to live with both scenarios.
It's just interesting because it's one of the last pretty sober societies in the world. And you've lived in a number of places. What are the differences?
It's good to be sober.
Yeah, it is good to be sober.
It's nice to be sober. I'll quote you for that. Beautiful to be sober. Love it. You're something else, Tucker. Huh?
I agree.
What the hell is happening? Look at the very end here.
It's nice to be sober. I'll quote you for that. Beautiful to be sober. Love it. You're something else, Tucker. Huh?
I agree. Prince Waleed, thank you very much for taking all this time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, it is funny that you look at this guy and you say, "Oh, that's a brown man." Well, I guess there wasn't anything necessarily. There wasn't anything like dramatic that stood out to me on that. Like listening to it in retrospect, it's kind of what I expected that there would be. You have Tucker talking about his concerns that data centers aren't going to get enough. Have enough energy. There's kind of the typical sort of, I guess, oh no, Tucker's being a hypocrite. And then also the guy is like very obviously a masterful bullshitter. Absolute bullshitter. Completely. So, yeah, it was interesting. Thank you for joining me on that, boys and girls. And with that, at 11:59 p.m., I am going to call it. Did he out Tucker for not really being sober? I don't know. I don't really know what that was. What that laugh was about. There was some sort of knowing exchange there. They have some sort of unspoken thing that they were that they were discussing. Maybe this is like the reveal that Tucker is a secret degen. Go outside, guys. There's a partial lunar eclipse happening. I am going to go out and check out this partial lunar eclipse. Make sure you guys turn up tomorrow for the astrolabe and stick around afterwards. Go join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. We will have a voice chat in the evening, and then a reminder that there should be a show on Monday, assuming that I have time to fire one last one off before I head out of town. But then next week, there will be no Labe after Monday. And then the following week, there will be no Labe until probably Thursday, maybe Friday. So basically no Labes the next 2 weeks, but I will be, as long as I can get it set up right, I will be doing some streams from the road. So keep an eye out for those. They might be kind of a little haphazard. It might be the production quality might not be the greatest, but at least it'll give us an opportunity to, you guys can entertain me while I'm on the road, and maybe I'll make a little bit of money, because when I'm driving, I'm not making money. So stay tuned for that, guys. Go join the King Pill Discord if you would like to take part in those live streamed voice chats or the non-live streamed voice chats. Ben Shapiro and 2X says, are all the pseudo-waves still up on Substack? I missed most of the July ones, and this next week should be a good time to catch up. Yes, all the pseudo-waves should be on Substack. I haven't gotten any alerts that any have been taken down, so they should be there. The Venezuela commentary was something to think about. That's a good point, Just Plan Sar. Yeah, and they definitely did not anticipate what was going to happen over the next year. It'd be interesting to see that interview happen now. But so I will catch you guys tomorrow. Make sure you follow the Telegram channel. Follow me on X. Join the King Pill Discord. Those are all places you can know when I'm going to go live again. And have yourselves a good night. I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America